Good to see you, everyone. My name is Robbie Howell, and welcome to another recorded Enclave mission. We have a grand group today, some returning, some new. Would you mind introducing yourselves briefly? Fire away.
Sure. Hi. So I go by Meeks online, and I only learned about Enclave this year, and I have been obsessed with it. It's a problem. It's okay. I haven't got fired for my job yet. And all you need to know about me is that I'm not 6'1". I'm not a baseball player, and I don't have a family.
Beautiful. Next.
Well, I am Lethal Butterfly. Today I'll be playing Miyuki Shizukesa. I have been with Enclave for quite some time now, since its original beta tests back in the day. And I've taken to Advent like a fish to water, I like to think anyway.
I would agree. And lastly.
Hi, I'm Aidan. Robbie showed up to my Smash Local one time with a book, and I tried it, and I had a blast. So here I am. This is, I think, my third recorded mission. The other two were just a lot of fun, and I'm expecting this one to be the same.
Sick. Thank you very much, my friend. And now I'm going to have everyone introduce their characters in the same order. You can go into a bit more depth, but notably, all three characters are of the same class, though they all play very differently. After you introduce your characters, something that could be also cool is, if I'm still not back from generating the mission, if you wouldn't mind going over what might distinguish your characters from each other within the Thunderbird skill set, or other things besides, I'd love to hear your thoughts in post when I'm listening back to this mission. Be back soon, friends. Fire away with your characters.
Alrighty, so I'll get started. My character's name is Superman Naruto. Suto for short. It's a lot easier to say that way. And he is a 6'1" baseball player who is a father. So nothing like me, but that's okay. He is very... if you know your typical shonen protagonist, he has that kind of energy, but he has that more mature side, having to also bear the responsibility of taking care of family. The reason why he joined the Enclave was because when his lightning powers started to manifest and the Enclave showed him what he can do with it, he's like, I can be a superhero. That's dope. That's what I want to do. And so that's how I got into the Enclave.
Miyuki, again, also a Thunderbird here, very unlike myself, much like Meek's character. She comes from a sort of ancient Japanese equivalent society where, after a small village's poor harvest, she was sent to be sacrificed to winter spirits to appease them for a gentle winter. But that plan backfired big time. The spirits were enraged and they infused her with the power of winter instead. She ended up wiping out her original village as revenge and now wants to spread eternal winter across the entire globe. Which is why she's joined the Enclave, to both increase her power to be able to do so and to meet new places to freeze over completely.
That's crazy. I will be playing Raylar, who is a very, very large man from the continent Hesh, which has been a place that has been a location in Enclave missions before. He was a sort of like a pseudo vigilante for like a town, just bringing people to justice. That was just kind of their justice system. They didn't really have like real police or anything. He was kind of like a sheriff. Just a big man with a big hammer, and just wanted to make sure that people did the right stuff.
We love big men with big hammers. Speaking of hammers, it sounds like, we all have different theming to our characters. As mentioned before, mine was very heavily inspired by baseball. So with that said, a lot of the skinning for my gear is baseball inspired. Teleria, baseball sneakers. My thunder hammer is a baseball bat. Lightning bolts are skinned as baseballs, and I have a heroic Curious, which is skinned as a baseball chest card.
Yes, I should probably talk about item skins as well. So, Miyuki looks like a fairly standard pale Japanese adult woman with black hair tied up in an elaborate hairdo. Her thunderbolts are actually the ornate metal pins that hold her hairdo in place. She wears a white kimono with a red obi sash, and her thunder hammer is a katana with no sheath. Instead, it's plunged directly through the center of her torso, and the back of it pokes out the exact center of the bow on the obi sash. Her feathered cloak is a hagoromo. It's one of those scarves that looks like a single dense floating cloud in the shape of a ring that goes above the head and under the arms. Her talaria are a pair of Geta sandals. They're the wooden ones that are each on sort of two slats. Any other relevant skins? No, that covers everything, I believe.
Raylar's got a big hammer, big white cloak, all white feathers. Talaria are just shoes with wings on them.
Nice.
Very, very like stereotypical. Not a lot of skinning done, but
no, it works just because now all of our characters can all visually
Gear
stand out.
as writ, a classic.
I will say, since it was brought up, I decided not to get the feathered cloak, so Suto is a flightless bird, so be gentle. Instead, I opted to get a common item, which is a baseball glove.
Nice.
And yeah,
I wonder if there's an item currently in the game that could be skinned to a baseball glove. I don't think there's any like hand. Ooh, maybe the
there's like a
Berserker's
gauntlet.
claws?
There's like a gauntlet of some sort that would be because claws are more like functional. Like a catcher's mitt is very meant for like grabbing things that are coming at like high speeds, which is why I opted to go that way. Yeah. With that said, I think we're all set, Robbie.
Lovely. Something like a glove or a defensive hand item absolutely is going to be added eventually. Pretty much a matter of time. Okay. Normally I have pretty extensive, elaborate world building for you guys, but in this case, most of this mission statement can come down to a single person's name. We're going to begin, though, for those of you who are watching, Enclave missions are played entirely in one-shots. I generate them on the spot based on focus words given by my players. These focus words were as follows. 1. Birds of a thunder flock to Togunder. 2. Amen break. And 3. Antichrist. As you can imagine, these were rather intense focus words. But I think I've come up with something that, with luck, will be perfect for this group here. Okay. You guys are going to be deployed to contend with a rogue Enclave agent. This is an agent who has had a storied track record within the organization of substantial power and has a mission record of probably exceeding 40 to 50 successful outings at this point. They, however, decided to abandon a mission in order to step into a new role as a religious messiah in the region where they had been tasked to take on this mission. Because it just so happens that their specifics, the way they look, the way they act, fit perfectly into that local culture's prophecy about their messiah. In this particular case...
Probably why the Enclave sent them.
Indeed. It just ended up working a little too perfectly, and the agent decided that they enjoyed this. The agent's name, and this is his full name, is Clouds Burn Bright. He does not respond to anything besides the full sentence. You cannot abbreviate it. He is an extremely high-level Thunderbird who is known for his severity. He was actually, when he was recruited to the Enclave, in his local homeland, he was kind of considered to be a demigod. And so this is pretty much just like a straight track promotion for him. The area he has come to is... the region itself is not super consequential because the culture that has invaded it is a highly proselytic religion called the Disciples of Lokris. Lokris worship a burning eye, and they believe that the eye comes to people in dreams, marking them for greatness. It just so happens that Clouds Burn Bright has a number of glowing glyphs across his body, one of which happens to be a massive fuck-off eye in the middle of his forehead. Now, your job here is not to destroy Clouds Burn Bright by any means. The Enclave considers him an enormously valuable asset. However, your job is to make the people of Lokris not believe in him anymore. He is likely to fight this kicking and screaming. The people of Lokris, the disciples of Lokris, are also, much like Clouds Burn Bright, a rather severe folk who take the teachings of the Eye, which are very metaphorical and esoteric, extremely deadly seriously. They are a rather violent culture who is happy to spread their religion by war, and believe that the Burning Eye has a duality to it. On one side, one of tranquility and inner contemplation and peace, and the other of war and destruction. They believe that Clouds Burn Bright is an avatar of the latter part of this dualism, a war messiah, so to speak, who will lead their crusading armies to eternal victory, which thus far has been true. He has led them in war at this point, and they won very convincingly. You will be visiting Clouds Burn Bright at effectively like a high stronghold temple of Lokris. You will be ported pretty much right outside of a throne room. You can think of it somewhere between like a throne room and like a religious hall. Even a cloister could be a word for it. The Lokris will likely respond to you with immediate suspicion, if not outright violence. And you will be given one extra item for this, which one of you will have to choose to hold. Cloud Burns Bright, his badge. The mission is succeeded if he accepts it.
Ooh. Oh man.
Questions?
How long ago?
Holy shit.
Okay, how about we go in order? So
Yeah,
the same
Meeks
one
first.
Is so
Meek,
Suto,
you can go
Lethal,
first,
then yeah. Awesome. So how long has Clouds Burn Bright been in this Messiah position? Was it years?
Less than half a year.
Less than half a year. Okay.
Yeah, somewhat recent. And the Enclave actually doesn't typically mind agents leaving. That's not usually a problem. But the fact that he abandoned a mission midway through and happens to be an extremely high-level Enclave agent who has a lot of subordinate agents who really look up to him make him a particularly valuable asset.
Okay. All right, Lethal, go.
Can we be given a few examples of this religion's sort of? You said they take the teachings of this Eye deadly serious. Is there like a code of conduct that we could possibly trick him or force him to break in front of these people?
It's always
Are there a few
possible.
examples of things that are there like specific examples of things that he should not do?
So a way to think about it is that this religion is very monastic and rather Spartan. Self-deprivation is a big part of it. No matter what side you are, whether you're on the peace or the war side, you're still doing it. However, as with many religions, the higher up the ranks you go, the more eccentric you're allowed to be. And as such, given that he has been perceived in almost a messianic form, like just subordinate to the Eye itself, there are few social mores at this point that, if broken, would be a death knell to belief in him. Just, again, because of his status and his kind of right to eccentricity. Aidan, do you have any questions?
I had one. I'm trying to remember what it was.
That's fine. Meeks, do you got another?
How comes in dreams? Take.
I remember.
Okay, fire away.
Yeah, let's go back. Yeah.
Was he known to I mean, I assume that he's not that a high-ranking Enclave agent wouldn't just walk away mid-mission. Is there been a history of similar behavior beforehand?
So there are some Enclave agents who do shit like that. Sometimes it's just I must go. My new people need me, and boop, you're gone. The Enclave accepts these losses.
Yeah.
Clouds Burn Bright has always been a bit of a loose cannon for the Enclave. He's effective, but he's more than happy to like abandon his goal for something that he finds more personally interesting or fulfilling. So he has an erratic history. That said, he has never gone this far before. Particularly because he has he has demonstrated that he is no longer interested in working for the Enclave because he wants to pursue his new messianic role.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
I've got one.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Can we get a peek at his level, prominent stats, and ability perks?
I can give you a very brief summary. Clouds Burn Bright was level 10. An extremely powerful Enclave agent. He specialized, beyond Thunderbird stuff, in the sensory and might stats, as well as will. He was known for infusing core Thunderbird abilities with elements of leadership, first and foremost. He was known to be able to summon in spirit warriors or supporters or attendants. And he also was known to be able to enter battle rages, similar to a berserker.
The acolytes or guards or other attendants of this religion, can we expect them to be particularly adept in combat or magic?
Quite. In fact, very. However, you will have some advantage, given that the cloister you guys will be teleporting into, they don't expect a fight there. And so their elites are going to be well away from this initial gathering area, meaning that you're going to be mostly dealing with lower-ranking disciples or non-combat sages. However, the longer this takes, the more high-ranking warriors are going to enter the fray. The Enclave actually says that these will become intensely dangerous over time. Though, they do not anticipate Clouds Burn Bright unleashing full force on you guys. The Locris guys probably will, but he's always kind of had a soft spot for taking people under his wing and will likely try to persuade you to join him well before he tries to hurt you.
I guess with that said, what is Clouds Burns Bright's position on the Enclave now?
The Enclave doesn't really have like a perfect way of describing it, but from what they've shown, he has a similar attitude to many other high-ranking or like many other agents in general, which is that he sees the Enclave as a tool for his own advancement, right? It's a practical relationship. He just doesn't.
Just like me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like he hates them right now. He just considers himself on a temporary leave.
Oh, not even temporary, permanent leave. He doesn't want to do it anymore. He's like, these guys are going to give me way more than the Enclave could.
And when you said that some of their religious culture involves things like self-deprecation, do you mean things
self-deprivation, like
deprivation?
Yeah,
Okay.
like fasting, or
Yes,
like
okay,
intense meditation or sensory deprivation.
I see. I misheard that. Okay, I'm good.
Sure. Any final questions?
Climate of the area.
This is a
And
very
I guess terrain.
Oh, yeah. This is a very high-altitude, mountainous temple complex. Again, part fortress, part religious, like, institution. You guys will be indoors, but open air indoors. So think of it like an amphitheater-like setup. And if the whatever happens does take you outside of this arena, expect a highly complex, like, altitudinous building design that has like bridges connecting high spires that go over like gigantic chasms and very high winds, cold overall, low oxygen overall. I think in that case we are good to go. This will bring us to assembly. As of now, you are in character, though as always, everything we just discussed, you know in character. We will begin with... I feel like it is appropriate for Miyuki to have been the first to arrive. And we will have Suto...
You're making tea again. You know the drill.
Indeed. And we will have Suto be the second to arrive. Take it away.
All right. Miyuki will see Suto enter. just as she's finishing pouring a cup of tea, and she will very deliberately turn the cup 3 times and then hand it to Suto.
So she's sitting down at this table, or?
She's standing.
Oh, she's standing at this table. Okay. So I imagine when Suto is coming in, he's always being led in by this Enclave attendant. As always, he's going on one of his rambling stories. This time he goes on and on about how, yeah, and so I really think that character should have died in that arc. I really think that it could have, like, upped the stakes of the entire series, and you're gone. Hello! And then he excitedly goes up to Miyuki and kind of like in his own bubble doesn't really realize that Miyuki is offering him something, and he just goes up for a handshake by taking out his hand and says, "Hello, my name is Superman Naruto, but you can call me Suto. It's a lot easier. It's nice to meet you."
I'm sorry. Your name is Superman Naruto.
Yes. It's a great name, right? My dad named it after the 2 most amazing heroes in fiction.
I don't see what is so great about fish cakes, please.
Fish cakes?
Is my common translation perhaps failing? Attendant, did I translate this correctly?
And the attendant confirms wordlessly.
Huh. Well, you learn something every day, but I promise you this character is not a fish cake. Not at all. Huh. And then he just kind of puts his hands on his hips. Oh, wait. Well, first of all, does she take his hand? Or is he still, like, awkwardly holding it out?
No, she's holding tea.
Okay. It's a battle of wills. What will happen first?
And within this awkward pause, we will have this be the point at which Raylar enters the room.
You guys hear like a really loud like booming outside down the hall that you quickly realize is like footsteps and like of someone very large bounding down before he bursts through the door. Oh, shit! I was almost late.
Mind that
No, my
foul
friend.
mouth of yours.
Not at all, my friend. You are just on time. And then with his, he
thanks.
still has like one hand like towards Miyuki, and then he like shoots his other hand towards Raylar and says, "Hello, my name is Superman Naruto, but you can call me Suto. It's a lot easier."
5
I will,
minutes
and then he,
early
like,
is on time.
He like grabs Suto's hand and like squeezes it and does like a very violent shake.
Okay. Yeah, no. Hey, love your grip, man. Love your grip. What's your name?
I am Raylar. How you are? And I point to the last person in the room.
You may refer to me as Madam Shizukesa, or if you feel so bold as to address me in my native tongue, Shizukesa-sama.
Is there like a shorter
That's
name
a lot
we
of
can call
syllables.
you?
No.
Okay, so he's still holding out his hand as he's thinking.
I'll put the tea in it.
Okay. Shizukesa. Shisa? Zusa? It's like trying out
No.
names. Alright, well, I will do my best. And then he like takes the tea and he just like swigs it down, and then he puts the empty cup down on the table and he says, "Oh man, all Thunderbird mission! Woo! You guys are so different from me."
I think Miyuki notices that the tea went down without apparent error, and I think she almost smirks.
I don't know what that means, but that's okay.
Basically, the tea felt hot in your hand, but when you went to drink it, it's extremely and startlingly cold. It doesn't hurt you, it's just kind of surprising.
Oh yeah, I think that Suto would be an example of a character who would probably barely flinch at that.
He's just so oblivious he wouldn't notice.
As the group
With
of you
the
fall
baseball team,
silent
he's
for the
probably
moment,
very Americanized, so perhaps used to iced tea,
Yeah,
which is
exactly,
something
like
that
cold drinks.
tragically Miyuki has never heard of.
Some good old Southern iced tea. Yes, it is.
And at this point, an Enclave attendant enters the room bearing a beautiful small box that they kind of like a cigar box, but far more elaborate, with the Enclave's ensign on it. And when they open it, there is seated on a small satin pillow in the center a badge. They place it on a little dais in the midst of the three of you, and wordlessly gesture towards the badge.
All right, this thing. So, how are we doing this? Nose goes, rock, paper, scissors.
I grab it.
Awesome.
Raylar just like
Great.
reaches out and is like, I'll hold on to it.
Perfect. I love it when a plan comes together. All right. Awesome. All right. Gonna do awesome, guys. We're gonna get this guy and we're gonna convince him to come back. It'll be good. Let's avoid any unnecessary bloodshed, okay?
Well,
Indeed. Convince him to return, avoid unnecessary bloodshed, and if we can't do that, kill him on the spot.
Oh wait. Oh, pause. Let's workshop that. Is there anything else we can do before that? Maybe knock him out and then ping him in? I mean, I'm just saying there are other options.
I'm no executioner.
I like you, Raylar.
I think I like you too.
What is there to like? He has named one profession that he does not belong to.
This mission is already my last two brain cells being Thunderbirds. Miyuki is off to the side. It's the meme with the two wolves laughing and the one wolf looking sick of everything.
Or it's like the one serious dragon head and the two dorky
exactly.
other heads. Amazing.
And at this point,
Alright.
the Enclave attendant wordlessly gestures towards the door, which opens.
All right, put it in,
We'll
guys.
calmly move along into the teleportation chamber.
Like Suto's holding out his hand for like a group thingy, and then Miyuki just like walks out.
Yep.
Raylar does like one of these on top of the hand.
You know
And
what?
just keeps
Two
going
out,
into the room.
2 out of 3. Let's go. And then he follows after the other two.
And you are led through Enclave HQ with its labyrinthine passageways and its spiraling arches and its beautiful, elaborate architecture, only ever in shades of gray, colored by the many strange and wild agents like yourselves that march their ways around it. And when you reach the teleportation chamber, small, with curved corners and dim, the same disembodied voice gently says in all of your minds, "Agents, please take your places atop the telepads." Any final notes before we begin?
None from
Suto
me.
takes his hat and just like puts it on backwards, and then enters it into teleportation.
And as you all take your places, you feel your bodies begin to dissociate, starting with your toes, a tingling that rushes up through your legs, and when it hits your eyes, your vision explodes into color. And when it resumes, you all find yourselves struck by two things. First of all, the air around you is clean. It almost smells too clean. Like, it's not an ozone-y smell, but it's like something has been air purified within an inch of its life, you know what I mean? Second of all, the air is thin. It's not thin to the point where you suddenly get like a rushing headache, but you do notice having to breathe slightly deeper than you're accustomed to, even the moment you arrive. The group of you are inside of a strange, dark chamber. So dark that you can barely see each other. It is honestly not terribly different from the teleportation chamber. It's kind of shaped like a chemistry beaker with a flared bottom and then a long tapering top. And at the very peak, there is a small window that allows a tiny like pillar of light to come in towards the center. You see elaborate mosaics on the floor and beautiful carvings on the walls, almost universally depicting, at least somewhere within any given panel, the symbol of a stylized eye. It's going to come up a lot on this mission, so allow me to draw it for you very briefly. It almost looks like a sunrise, but even though my sketch is not going to do it justice, the shape of it is eye-like. The round center and 6 flaring rays coming off of it. Possibly resembling eyelashes. You can hear, as you teleport in, not only is there an entrance and exit to this room, currently closed, but despite that, through it, you hear a booming voice. It is so loud that you can almost feel it in the earth. And you hear it saying, like kind of midway through the sentence, "And from the sea shall then we face the sky, and upon the sky's heart we shall carve our mark, and history will be forever ours, my novices. Forever ours." Actions upon porting in, we will begin with Raylar.
Did he say this guy or the sky?
The sky.
Okay.
This guy, man.
I'm gonna
Fuck this guy.
I'm gonna like take inventory of the space, look around me to see who is there, and if they pose a threat.
Yep.
Considering I know we're just porting into basically an active, not war zone, but threat zone.
Enemy territory.
Enemy
if you will.
territory is definitely the word I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. The room you're in is completely empty, but it is also quite small. It is almost completely undecorated. It's decorated, but it has almost no objects inside of it. Not even furniture. Possibly, again, like a meditation cloister of some kind. Any immediate follow-ups from Raylar upon confirming this?
No.
Brilliant. Immediate actions
Wait for
next
the other two.
from Miyuki, then Suto.
I think noting the eye symbol, I will point out 6 may be numerologically significant to their religion. Bear that in mind as you cast your spells.
Any follow-ups
And
from
I'd
her
like
after
to-
saying this?
Yes. Are there doors to this area other than the window above?
So there's the little thing above, and then there is one other noteworthy entrance. It is clearly a door, but looks more like a sliding panel in the wall. It does have a little handle on it, though.
I would like to proceed, not like running or even power walking, just a calm walk towards that, and I'd like to begin storm calling to try to drop the temperature of the area. Just a light little ominous hum.
Absolutely. As you are proceeding towards the door and beginning to hum, actions from Suto.
Suto would want to do also something similar. He wants to take inventory of where he is. He probably notices the door. Did Miyuki walk towards the door, or is she just walking forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. He does notice her humming. Not exactly sure what she's doing, but he does want to kind of like press his ear against the door to see like if there's any close sound coming on from the other side.
Sure. The mighty voice continues to boom, making it kind of hard to listen in effectively, but it doesn't seem to grow substantially in volume when you put your ear up to the door, and you do not hear any immediate sounds directly beyond said door. Immediate follow-ups from Suto.
Stands back up, and then he says, "Okay, guys, huddle."
She
I go
doesn't.
to the huddle.
I know she doesn't.
Yeah. Raylar joins the huddle.
All right. So with Raylar to my side, and then she's gonna shuffle. So then he's like next to Miyuki,
Yeah.
but like not putting her arm around Miyuki, and says, "Okay, guys, we're only gonna be successful with a great plan. What do we got?"
I say we just run in and be as loud as possible right off the bat to catch him off guard.
Okay, wait. Okay, that's a great start. Let's put a pin on that though.
We should inform him that we are here to retrieve him for the Enclave, and that if he does not comply, the lives of him and his acolytes are forfeit.
That's brutal.
It is pretty brutal. I do like the straightforward and honesty. Honesty is the best policy after all. But based on what the Enclave told us, I don't know if they'll take too kindly to that.
I don't think so either.
Imagine if our mission
They
was
may not
that
regain
simple.
their asset, but at least they will lose their liability.
Okay. Well,
I guess.
we can do a combination of both. Let's talk to him. Let's see where his mind's at. And then we'll workshop from there. Yep.
In that case,
So with that said, he puts his hand to like the sliding door, kind of looks at the others, and kind of like, "You're ready, you guys ready?" kind of look.
I do like it.
I dropped the thread of my storm calling there. Can I pick it up again by resuming humming, or have I accidentally ended the ability?
No, you can pick it back up. Storm calling is,
Okay,
calling is very generous. Like when you're using storm brewing, it's very generous with like giving a break or a gap. And as
Is
the
it
door
brewing?
panel,
I always forget.
it's brewing. Yeah, it used to be storm calling way the hell back in Legacy.
I was looking at the book. I was like, where does it say storm calling? I was freaking out for a second.
And as the door slides open, you find yourselves facing a number of high archways that connect a series of rooms like bridges. You can see the magnificent span of the mountains out beyond, as these almost open-air stone catwalks link together a couple of smaller door panels, almost identical to the ones that you just saw. Down below you, there, like over the edge of this stone catwalk, you can see a great rising amphitheater. Rather than the like part where the speakers are being down, it's inverted, so the part where the speaker is higher up. Not quite at your level, but approaching that. There are two great spiraling staircases winding down towards that level from yours, and there are also, in addition to the many small sliding doors, there are two sets of much larger doors at your level as well, on top of the staircases that I just mentioned. Upon sliding this open, immediate follow-ups, first from Suto.
Takes in a deep breath. This is already a lot better.
Yeah, the mountain air is clean and tinted with the hint of snow, and there is a light but not insufferable breeze. It's also, like, it's cold, but it's not horridly cold.
Just quick question, is it like daytime, closer to the evening?
It's closer to evening. There's a glorious sunset on the horizon, visible from here.
Okay, good to know. Sounds good, sounds good.
And what would Suto like to do after sliding open the door?
He takes a step outside, and then before he takes a step outside, he pokes his head out, and he wants to see if there's any disciples like on the same level as them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, kind of going up to the edge of the catwalk to look over and get a better glimpse of the layout of the speaking. What's a good word for this? I'm sure there's a good word for it. The terraced speaking height, right? Pardon?
Podium?
Yeah, it's like a terraced podium that is very, very large and has like seating on all of it. So you can see rows upon rows upon rows of initiates, probably well over 100 people, if not more. And towards the very top, there are a couple more people. Cloudsburn Bright is immediately obvious. You can see that his skin is an incredibly dark brown. He is not wearing a shirt. In fact, he's only wearing kind of a elaborate bejeweled loincloth. And you can see that in addition to that, he has an absolutely gorgeous, like, hot, you know, the Pope with that big funky hat? Imagine if that actually looked cool and was made in like shades of orange and black. You can see that he does not seem to be armed, but is gesticulating wildly with his hands as he speaks. Very, very, like, performative, right? However, around him, there are a couple others. You can see a number of, like, simply cloaked individuals who have glowing glyphs on their foreheads. And you can also see 4 heavily armored individuals floating on small platforms, only barely big enough for themselves, kind of flanking the very top of the rising podium. Quick follow-ups from Suto upon seeing this before I jump to Raylar.
None here. He just kind of like goes back and relays to the team, like, okay, I see Cloudsburn Bright, and there are at least more than 10 over there.
I should note, while you are saying this, and while you all are doing this, Cloudsburn Bright is continuing to give his speech, and his blasting voice makes it so that even speaking at like a normal volume, there is 0 chance that you will be heard.
even at pseudo volume?
Even at pseudo volume.
Jesus.
If you were to yell, maybe, but just like speaking volume, Cloudsburn Bright is so loud there is no risk.
Got it.
Immediate follow-ups from Raylar, both as Suto is going over the edge to peek, and after Suto relays what he saw. What would Raylar like to do?
I'm gonna ask I'm gonna ask Suto how far away they were.
Goes to describe the people on the platforms, how he sees like clouds were bright, just like right, like there, demanding attention, like way over there-ish, and there's like a bunch of people like on the down below-ish.
Mm-hmm.
He's using a lot of like hand gestures and ish words.
Indeed. I'm gonna make.
So what I'm hearing is they're all just. Go ahead.
You first.
Oh, I was gonna say I forgot the phrasing what I was gonna say. So you first.
I've come up with a very quick little map for you guys. If you imagine the little catwalk thing being this big square, you guys are here-ish. Cloudsburn Bright is here-ish with his back to the beautiful sunset beyond. So he's pretty much like on the precipice of the whole thing. And then there's these big, like, looping seating rows, kind of tearing down from where he is. Does that give you a good picture?
Yep.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is nobody's looking in our direction.
No. I mean, Cloudsburn Bright kind of is, but he's mostly looking down to his attendants. His guards might be able to see you, though, but the place you are on, though the setting sun is blasting in and illuminating it, does have the natural blockage of the stone, the carven stone railing that surrounds the catwalk.
Yeah. That was Raylar saying that to Suto.
Okay. Yeah. In that case, feel free to respond however you want based on what I just said.
So wait, what was Raylar's query to Suto?
Oh, I said, so it sounds like no one is looking at us.
Oh, I see.
If all their attention is down to the other guy, we could probably... I mean, I assume there's going to be some kind of... someone looking like a guard or something, but we'll, for the most part, have no eyes on us.
Suto could not understand a word you said, but he's like nodding like, yep, great.
Follow-ups from Raylar.
Could not hear it.
Can I go peek?
Yeah, you can go up to the edge of the beautiful carved railing and look over the edge. To Raylar's eyes, he would note two other things. First of all, the setting sun is pretty much positioned directly behind Cloudsburn Bright, which obviously backlights him and makes for a glorious scene. But also, it means that the light is coming in sideways to the entire thing, meaning that like shadows that would normally be cast during daytime are not being cast right now. This means that you have the railing is not only a like visual blocker, but it also is casting shadow, making it even harder to see if you are like ducked down low.
Sick.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to go back to the rest of them and say, we could probably just sneak out down there to see what's going on.
Again, the entire time Suto's
Or at
just
least
nodding.
get a better view. I'm going to say it louder so that like it's audible.
Shadows! That's a good idea.
Yourself are a formidable tool, although I doubt subtlety lies within Suto's skill set.
Excuse me, I'm very
We'll figure
subtle.
it out as we go.
I'm so subtle. What does subtle mean?
Don't worry about it.
That.
You're doing fine.
That preempts what I was going to ask. Actions from Miyuki. You gave one already, but what else would she like to be doing?
I want to pay attention to the speech. He talked about, I think, scouring the heart of the sky, or
Yeah,
ripping it down or something like that.
carving the heart of the sky.
Is he talking about dominating the sun?
Have you been paying attention to his speech the whole time?
I want to try to pay attention to what I can glean.
Yeah, she hasn't been taking too many other big actions, so I think that's totally fine. And because of that, you would actually get a picture of what he is describing. Apparently, he is proposing conquering another local pantheon of gods who literally live in the clouds.
Oh.
And so he is trying to take the crusading of this religion from a literal level, or rather from like an earthen level, a mundane level, to a literal metaphysical level, and actually conquer the sky.
This guy's
That was a little
mad
less
with
exciting
power.
than what I was
Jesus.
hoping for, because the sun is a little bitch and I hate him.
I mean, we can deal with that later, but we got to deal with this guy first.
Yeah. Well, if he was talking about that, I had energy work ideas, but he's not.
Indeed. Follow-ups from Miyuki.
Continue to sing. I want to try to empower my storm calling by actually singing in a way that, humming in a way that, if it could be heard, would kind of sync up with the speech and the cadence of it nicely. That way he'll think it's just part of his own power, his own storm calling.
Yep.
And it won't arouse suspicion. And also, I might be able to siphon off a little bit of his bigger, badder Thunderbird juice.
As you begin to do so, you notice something. It's something quite subtle, but given that you're storm brewing and you're listening into his speech, you notice that his speech is interlaced with sun motifs. He uses the terminology a lot. And in fact, you notice too, the sun isn't setting faster. It's holding still.
Never mind, I don't do this anymore.
And in addition to that, even though you're high altitude, you can see snow on nearby mountaintops. The sun on your face makes it as warm as a day in June.
Uncomfy. Can I roll up my sleeves and then use like sort of any ribbons or cords I have on them to sort of tie them rolled up?
Yeah.
Because I think it might be temperate for most people, but Miyuki would be, I think, a little uncomfortably warm.
More than a little, I would say. And it's only because she's been paying attention to this that she is noticing just how much this is taking hold. Any follow-ups from her after doing so before I jump back over to Suto and Raylar? Good for the moment?
Talking to Miyuki.
Oh, yeah. Lethal, do you have any follow-up actions?
No, I'm sorry. I'm lost in thought thinking about energy work.
Perfectly fine. In that case, Suto, actions from you. You would probably pretty much not register what Miyuki is doing because she's not doing anything particularly interesting. Any follow-ups based on your brief bit of intel with Raylar?
Well, first he notices that Miyuki is like adjusting his clothing and whatnot, maybe even like squinting at the sun.
Yeah,
so
she's rolling up her sleeves and getting like, you can see. I don't know if this is putting words in your character's mouth or just like words on her description, so to speak. But you would see that her beautiful face is like uncharacteristically squinched.
Got it. So he like goes to like
She's
block the
trying
sun.
to hide it, but she's not doing great.
Indeed, yeah. Oh, block the sun?
He takes his like giant 6'1" body and like puts it in front of Miyuki, so then it's blocking the sun. So at least where she's covered in shade.
In that case, as she is rolling up her sleeves, Suto would like shuffle into the way.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Follow-ups from him?
So I take it that Miyuki does not share what she has learned or from.
Doesn't sound like it yet.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So he goes, all right, guys. So if we're going to talk to him, I guess we just wait for him to finish, or, I mean, that would be the polite thing to do.
That would be extremely foolish.
Yeah, I feel like we just go and interrupt him in the middle of like the next sentence he says or something.
Do you know the difference between a mage and a warrior? The difference is that if you give a warrior 10 minutes alone, they won't suddenly have a cannon.
You can see the gears in Suto's mind working. He's trying so hard.
I think we go now.
Mage. We cannot allow him to accumulate more power.
Okay, that I get.
Raylar, after saying I think we go now, do you have any immediate actions you want to take, or do you want to hold off for the moment?
I'm just making. I want to wait until I can tell that both of my allies are in agreement with what I just said before I just throw us into anything.
Indeed. Follow-ups from Suto to what both Miyuki said and Raylar's statement of I want to go now.
Guess it makes the most sense. And then he puts his bat on his shoulder and says, so we're just marching up, or we're going to be sneaky?
I can go for either.
Alrighty. In that case, lead the way, my friend. And he like is referring to Raylar as he's like pointing his bat towards CBB's direction.
So, Robbie, am I understanding this correctly in that we are like higher up?
You are
on like whatever like pavilion thing.
Yep.
and then there's a fence in front of us.
Yep, like a railing that comes up maybe to like high chest level. To give you an idea, again, to give you my little mapperino.
Yeah.
You're here,
Okay.
and then there's there, and then he's there, and he is high up, well higher up than his initiates, but not quite at your height. So you can think of him being like 2 stories lower than you are.
Oh wow. Okay,
Okay.
that's a lot farther down than I
Is
thought.
the thing that he's talking on? Is it like a is it like a tower or something? Like does
It's
it
like
seem
a
like
it's
or
like a
does it seem like
stepped it's like a stepped tower, like an inverted amphitheater. So he's on the very highest
Okay.
platform of it, and then there's like a layer down, and then a layer down, then a layer down, and layer.
like a pyramid?
Yeah, or a wedding cake. Let's go with that.
Oh
way.
yeah. Okay. I want to get a running start, but I want to like full force run, use the Talaria as much as I can to get as far out as I can,
Yeah.
and out of the blue straight down to the center.
Holy shit.
Are you going for him? Or are you going for just the podium that he is on at the very top, or something else?
I want to go not necessarily like on top of him, but like near him, close enough that I could like speak with him
Sure.
or like shout at him.
Out of the Blue is not really a big fan of the word near. It tends to
That's fair.
conduct onto things. And so would you be trying to like what would you be aiming for? Because he is definitely beyond the floating like heavily armored guys on platforms nearby him. He's definitely the most conductive looking thing in that vicinity.
That's fair. Maybe not necessarily super close to him because I could probably shout pretty loud to get my point across, but somewhere that is like very obvious and visible, and I want to be seen, and I want to take the attention away from him.
Absolutely.
For like even if for a small moment.
As Raylar is beginning to run before he starts to take to the air, immediate follow-ups from Suto and then from Miyuki.
Seeing Raylar run, he also starts to run, but instead of going in the same direction as Raylar, he goes over to the left, kind of like bending low, trying to use the shadows to his advantage, and he puts himself at the end of the catwalk such that he can see he's closer to or sees CBB in his sight, and he's just like sitting hunching down, and he has his bat in the ready. He's just assessing the situation.
Absolutely. So staying out of sight for the moment. Miyuki, immediate follow-ups or reactions to Raylar beginning to run.
I would like to continue storm calling, continue dropping the temperature, and fun fact about weather, but I believe water droplets this high up in the atmosphere always start out frozen, and it only becomes rain when it gets low enough to melt.
I think that's
so
true,
that works to my advantage. I'd like to whip up a flurry, which I hope to eventually build up to a blizzard. But for now, let's just, I guess, expand and make more populous the sort of atmospheric moisture as snow crystals.
And I should
And,
note, even if that isn't literally
Mm-hmm.
true, it's compelling enough that I don't fucking care. It's awesome. So carry on.
Yeah. I'm even willing to make some concessions on this so that I don't end up in a tug of war with the stronger Thunderbird over the weather, basically. Which is, I am willing to not cloud the sky so that the sun can keep shining. And I will even let these snowflakes reflect sunbeams and create the sort of a nice little light show out of the orange twilight.
Oh, lovely. And what is going to be
Be
your
able to use
paired
that for
action?
his energy work. I'm willing to allow that.
What's going to be your paired action for this?
I'd like to increase the volume of my humming, and I already rolled up my sleeves, dang it. I'd like to sort of, I guess, start gesturing with my arms as I walk along the catwalk. I'm not running, but I am following closer to Raylar's path until he jumps off.
Yeah. Are you making any attempt to stay below the railing line, or do you not care?
Well, that would be a very ungraceful dance, I
Quite.
think.
And in that case, as each of you goes off in a different direction and a very different style of movement, Raylar takes to the sky. Talaria's, I'm guessing, are you Talariaing like as far out as you can before you start to drop and then bolting?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in that case, when Out of the Blue activates, You zap through the air, and the other two of your companions would see that your out of the blue redirects directly into Clouds Burn Bright. Precisely into him. However,
Holy shit.
as he is midway through his conversation, it's as though one moment his hand is like this, and the next it's like this. And you appear hand to hand with him, like frozen in midair, kind of as your body rematerializes out of the blue. As his speech stops and his striking eyes catch yours. You can see that within, it's almost as though in his eyes, which are like alive with color and like a rainbow vividness. It's almost like there are dancing cloud motifs surrounding his irises. And his stern, severe brows, when they like, the way that they fork down and look at you, almost makes him look like a bird of prey with you in his sights. What would you like to do?
Miyuki sees that
Oh, yep.
absolutely choice, barehanded parry, and she actually blushes a little, but then covers it up. Covers her face.
Suto just says under his breath, "Yo, that was so sick."
And Raylar, immediate follow-ups to getting caught. What do you want to do?
I'm just gonna say, uh-oh.
And as you do so, your feet, like you drop out of your frozen position onto the ground. You have the reflex to catch yourself. Are you doing so?
Yeah.
Immediately, how are you going to stand, assume yourself, ready for combat? What do you want to do immediately after touching down?
I'm gonna like stand and like kind of like brush myself off a little bit and be like, hi.
And his eyes dig into you. Like it's hard to face him as though you're looking directly at the sun. As he says in his same booming voice that goes everywhere with effortless loudness, "You have come to learn at my feet, I would see."
You could say that.
I do, and what I say becomes the truth. Sit now, and listen, and receive the wisdom that has been brought to me by the benevolent auspices of the Eye.
Right, yeah, about that. No.
Now, of note, Raylar would not see this because he's like in a staring contest at the moment, even if he doesn't want to be. Suto and Miyuki, upon the word no, would immediately see the four like hovering guards immediately start to circle around and begin to flank behind Raylar. Immediate follow-ups
they're
from
hovering on. Are they metal?
the discs that they are hovering on. It's kind of hard to tell. They could be metal, but they almost look kind of paperish in some way, and in some ways also they look kind of lacquered. It's an you're far enough away, and it's such an indistinct material that it could be a bunch of different things, but they're beautiful and elaborate. They look kind of like kites given more tangibility.
Given Suto's positioning, how far away is the closest guard from him?
I mean, since this is the most useful metric, definitely within out of the blue distance. But okay. you could think of it like 2-story drop and maybe like 20 big lunges.
Okay.
So more horizontal than vertical.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Does he have any other follow-ups?
Does he notice if they're holding any weapons?
They are. You note, first of all, that they are all carrying enormous kind of like sloped tower shields that cover most of their body. But in their offhands, they look like they're holding lamps, for want of a better term. But they're holding them in such a way as to either be like a religious item, like maybe a censer or something, or maybe like an explosive. It's hard to tell.
Got it.
But the shield's pretty obvious. And I don't care what people say. Shields are a weapon. Raylar, after saying no, Clouds Burn Bright, without changing his expression, goes, "Ha!" And the ha echoes through the air. He says, "Gumption! I like it. I was much in your shoes when I came before my master many, many long years ago. And yet..."
Is he wearing shoes?
No, he is not. "And yet, from him, I learned much that mere gumption could never have taught me. You may express this gumption should you wish, but you may also express humility and learn at my feet. Or perhaps you need cajoling.
I don't know what that word means.
And you can see that after a moment, Cloudburn Bright continues to catch your eye, and then again, completely humorlessly in his face. Ha! There is little importance in the specific definitions of words. It is the meanings behind them that matter. And the meaning that I convey to you now is this. Sit and learn. Or be made to sit and learn.
In that moment, I'm gonna make my Enclave badge like appear on my cloak.
And as it appears, you can see that for the first time, his fearsome bird of prey gaze flicks down for just a moment. And there's a beat.
Change my storm brewing then.
I'm gonna get follow-ups, but just to finish up this section of the scene. His voice booms out, and it hits a lower register than before. As he calls, I'm gonna bring the mic up, sorry if I'm not gonna be too loud. Initiates. Close your eyes. Allow the eye to burn your minds clean of lies. And those who are observing would see all of the people in the seats. They're not actually sitting, they're kneeling. They all immediately bring their hands to their face like this and bend down into a full kowtow. Before we go further, Miyuki, you can hear both of you can effortlessly hear every word of this conversation, especially Cloudburn Bright. Do you have any follow-ups or actions or responses to any piece of this? Or other things you want to do outside of it?
The distraction is when I begin moving against him with storm calling.
Indeed.
When his eyes flick to the Enclave badge.
And what will that look like?
So, this is going to be a little bit of a long haul. I want the sun to set, because that's going to deprive him of power. Except the thing is, I can't, like I said, tug of war him against storm calling, because he would win that.
Indeed. The sun setting is
just...
also normally not within the purview of storm brewing.
Normally not. Anyway, yeah, so pushing the sun down out of his grip, that's not going to work for me. But what I can do is learn from him, as I have done to the various people who have tried to strike me down before. Mm-hmm. So I think ultimately what I want to try to do here is create a solar eclipse instead.
Ooh.
I don't want to move the sun, because he's got that one on lockdown. I want to move the moon instead.
That's going to be incredibly challenging, again, because the moon is not normally anywhere near within the purview of storm brewing, and you are a much, much lesser Thunderbird by Enclave standards compared to him. How are you going to begin approaching this?
Okay.
Do you need a moment?
Broad strokes of the plan here.
Yeah.
Make a mask out of ice. Slowly cover my face with that mask.
Okay, that's a very strong start, but still maybe not enough to bridge the gap from meteorological forces to cosmic forces. But I like the start.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think what I'd like to do is well, first of all, I'm going to need ice to work with. And so I'd like to build up the storm brewing I'm currently doing with the snow.
Yeah.
And then build it back down to where I started. Start the decrescendo when I begin pushing on the mask, and then come to utter silence by the time it's fully over my face.
Well, let's begin with the crescendo. You've described the beginning of how you've initiated the storm brewing, but how will you increase it? I'm guessing the humming will increase, but describe it to me in more detail.
Yes, I will increase the humming in volume. At a certain point, I will open my mouth and escalate from humming to vocalizing, and then at another point, I will go from vocalizing to actual lyrical singing.
Okay.
And then back down to vocalize.
Give me some examples of what this might sound like in terms of potential real-world parallels. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be very, very rough. Give me maybe a few examples.
I think, I'm not sure what the proper word for it is, but sort of classic sort of Japanese singing, which would only be accompanied by by a string instrument, if anything.
Oh yeah, so kind of like folk music opera sort of dealio.
Yeah, folk music opera.
Yeah.
I was going for a sort of operatic kind of vibe when I first started humming.
Yeah, it sounded that way to me, just at a guess. Now, I know you are capable of this, and I would not specifically ask it, except in a situation like this where the energy work is extraordinarily demanding. I'm going to need lyrics.
I was thinking about composing a haiku.
I'll give you a moment to do so.
Okay.
Suto, actions you would like to take during or after what has just transpired between Raylar and Clouds Burn Bright.
First of all, when Miyuki starts singing, can Suto hear it? Is it that audible, or is it just more so her?
So Clouds Burn Bright has a very powerful voice, but
right now he's not talking, right?
He's there are moments of silence as Raylar is responding and when he notices the badge and things like that. And so you would catch snippets, especially as Miyuki's voice begins to grow louder and especially when it starts to begin putting lyrics to the tune.
Gotcha. And then is the storm brewing, does it affect the area where Suto is? Like, does he start to notice how, like, the water droplets around him are starting to crystallize and all that? Or is it just, again, within his purview?
He would notice two things. One, he would notice the temperature dropping, but not dramatically. It would go from a pleasant day in June to a pleasant day in April. On top of that, he would notice a kind of faint rainbowish mist. But I don't think he would necessarily put together that was snow, right? Or ice crystals. But he would feel the temperature go down and he would notice this rainbowish mist starting to form.
I see. So from the catwalk,
I'm so sorry. One more note. The rainbowish mist would be emerging mostly from the shadows of the railing, the one place that isn't being directly baked by the setting sun. Pardon. Carry on.
Okay. Suto is crouching down into the shadows. How far away is the spiraling staircase? Because essentially what he wants to do is that he wants to get a running position ready, such that should Raylar need any backup, he is going to, like, run really fast down these stairs and then do his offensive maneuver.
Yeah, absolutely. Fortunately, where you have chosen to position yourself is pretty much directly next to one of those two big staircases.
Sounds good. I guess with that said,
thank God, because I am gonna need backup.
All right. Yeah, no, he's getting ready, and he's like, "What happened? What happened, guy?"
And down below, as Suto is preparing himself, Raylar, do you have responses to Clouds Burn Bright's ultimatum?
That was just like specifically the
Sit or I will make you sit.
Take out my hammer. I don't really have another choice.
And as you do so, Clouds Burn Bright, his eyes fall to the hammer, and you can see that his severe brow very slightly softens, and as he does so, he raises a hand and says, "To me!" And your hammer jumps out of your hand into his. What would he like to do?
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of that.
I would imagine.
You want to trade? And I'm going to pull out the badge.
He is completely ignoring you at this point and is instead examining the hammer, admiring the craftsmanship.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I just kind of put the badge back away. Can I have that back, please?
As you do so, he does not respond. Instead, you hear a voice behind you that says in a low, deadly tone, "Interloper."
I'm going to turn around and punch whoever that was in the face really hard.
As you go to punch, you realize that they're too far away to punch. It's the floating platform guys, and they are floating out far enough from where you are that you're not in immediate striking distance. They have their great tower shields up. They're holding weird hanging lanterns in their hands, like in the offhands to their shields. And the one who spoke says through a heavy helmet, "Step away from the chosen, interloper. Step away, or you will feel the wrath of the Eye's power."
I'm not stepping away.
Suto.
Yeah. Yeah. he is going to see the hammer fly from Raylar to CBB, and I take it I don't hear any of the dialogue. That's what I'm trying
Oh,
to
you
tell
actually do. It's
even the guards?
yes, because with him not yelling, it's actually quite quiet in here, and the acoustics are great.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, he says, okay, that's not good. And then he starts dashing as fast as he can, like down these stairs. And what he wants to do is that as he wants to get the hammer back from Clouds Burn Bright. So what he wants to do is with his out of the blue perk, rushing to first base as he is running, he wants to also activate his out of the blue such that it's attracted to the hammer, and he wants that momentum such that when he is focusing on that hammer and he rematerializes, he grabs it and then uses the momentum of the movement to kind of like grab it out and
Like whip past with it.
yeah, whip past,
Yeah.
yeah.
And to remind, your perk allows you to use it horizontally with range scaling on current speed. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. In that case, as you're building up speed on the spiral staircase, pretty much as soon as you draw a level, you can start to go for it. How are you going to make sure that you hit the hammer?
I guess my question is, I thought it was just going to be attracted to things that are conductive.
Oh, it is. But remember, there are floating guys on platforms that are covered in metal. And they are roughly equidistant. The closest one is roughly equidistant to you from the hammer. And kind of in the same direction.
Okay.
Do you need a moment to think?
Yeah, yes.
You can totally take a moment to think. And Raylar, do you have any immediate follow-ups to what they say as they begin to raise their lanterns as one?
If they're raising their lanterns, are they not really dropping their shields, but like lowering them at all?
They are raising them higher, such that the only part of them that is visible is their arms with the lanterns, which the shield even has like a little like a small nook in it that perfectly fits their arm, allowing it to perfectly cover their entire body except for the exposed lantern.
They've thought of everything. I'm gonna. I would like to try to throw a lightning bolt at one of the whichever one is probably closest to me. Either they're like the arm that's holding the lantern or the lantern.
Sure. They're roughly equidistant. So in this case, do you want to do one of the two in front of you, the one on the furthest left, or the one on the furthest right?
One of the two in front of me.
Okay.
Or actually, do I see what Suto is doing?
I'm going to say no. Actually, this is really important. Do you have a plus in sensory? That's actually really important.
No.
Shit. No, you would absolutely not register what Suto's doing. The blood is pumping in your ears. You're being borne down upon by a lot of very scary dudes, and you would not have the attention to spare.
Okay, so then, yeah, one of the two in front of me.
Yep. As your bolt flies forwards, the lanterns all turn on. And for a moment, it feels like nothing. But then in Raylar's vision, he sees what feels like two... Okay, you know when you look at a light too long and you close your eyes and you can still see the light there?
Yeah.
Even when you open your eyes, you can still see it there. You see two... There's, in front of both of your eyes, two massive eye imprints. Like stylized eye symbol imprints that completely block much of your vision. And at the same time, your body begins to tremble and seize. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna hide within my cloak. Just like
pulling
actually, I have a blanket. I could.
Oh,
like,
perfect.
Like.
They got a method actor here.
And as the cloak wraps around you, you can still feel yourself trembling. It's almost like, yeah, it's an analogy I love because it works so well. Imagine like the worst flu you've ever had. It's like that sort of ache and just sheer weakness rushing through your body. Before we go further, Suto, do you have an idea here?
He's going to run further down. So rather than being on level with the floating platforms and the hammer, he's intending to go further down. So then his distance away from the, he's more far away from the platforms, and even though the hammer is going to be a bit lower, it's still, he's hoping that it'll still be like the closer object to conduct to.
I see what you mean. Okay, I actually quite like that. And
he's just like keeping momentum, speeding up and whatnot.
Yeah. And as you activate the out of the blue, you zoom across the sky, and as you materialize, you feel yourself materializing with your hands on the haft of Raylar's hammer, and the momentum is zooming you past. The hammer is released from Cloudburn Bright's hands immediately, and you go like soaring out sideways past him. What do you want to do? You're in midair.
This is not your spy!
And from this point, in midair, you're starting to go off the part where his podium is, and there's like big stepped podiums leading down below you that you will be dropping into. What do you want to do from here?
As in, like, I'm gonna have a pretty hard landing?
Oh, it's going to be quite a hard landing because as it stands, your momentum is still carrying you sideways, meaning that every moment that passes, the landing is further because you go past one step and then past another and then past another.
Gotcha. He is going to try to twist his body so then the momentum becomes a turning motion.
Yep.
Such that if he were to, when he does go onto the landing, at the very least, it'll be like tumbling and hopefully not damage him too much.
As he begins to twist his body, he starts to drop properly. The horizontal momentum turns into downward momentum. As he is doing so, the world around him is a blur as he drops. Quick check on luck and reflex and resilience stats.
Luck 0, reflex +1, and resilience 0.
Okay, thank God we have a reflex there.
Thank God!
You hit something soft, but you hit it very hard. What would you like? And you're spinning at the moment. How would you like to? And so you hit it kind of like not quite on your back, but kind of on your side with your legs a little further down. So how do you want to try to land this thing as you hit?
Do I feel that it's like circular? Or is it like...
It's rounded. That's all you get in the instinctive moment.
He wants to then like extend out his arm such that then he wants to like kind of like go down around the... He's assuming it's like something rounded like a column or whatever, but at the very least like kind of go down around it following the curvature of the structure to then go down.
He hears a loud noise as he lands. And as he reaches his arms around kind of wildly, he finds that while there's no column to go down around, his arms do wrap around someone. A person. He landed on one of the initiates.
Are they still like in this position?
They were in that position. You hit their rounded back. And so as you fall and like you come to your senses, you're kind of like half grabbing onto one of them. I should note, your hip is throbbing from that.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I can imagine, at the very, he is like falls in between the two. I'm assuming that there's an initiate and then there's another one next to him. He just like falls like right sandwiched in between the two.
Yep. The initiate that he landed on actually rolls out of his kowtow position, like grabbing his back and grimacing.
Sorry.
What would he like to do immediately after this? Hammer in hand.
Hammer in hand. He, as best as he can, goes through the pain to bring his chest up. And how far away is he from Raylar?
Raylar is 2 big steppies up from him. So, like, you can imagine each step as being like a story and a half. Like, substantial heights. But in terms of like lateral distance, pretty close. The main problem is the big verticals.
Gotcha. I guess because he wants to give the hammer back to Raylar at this point.
Raylar appreciates that.
But he's afraid that if he throws it down, then it's just going to be attracted to CBB again.
Yeah. So
at the very least, he's like holding it here, and at risk of making himself known, he just kind of yells over, "Hey, you're probably going to need this!"
And as you yell, Miyuki, what do you got for me?
I'd like to also mention, I want to increase the moisture in the air at the point that I escalate from humming to vocalizing by crying. And I'd like to increase the blizzardiness of it by having the tears freeze as they run down my cheeks when I escalate from vocalizing to singing.
Is this a magical cry, a stage cry, like a I can cry on command cry, or a literal emotional cry?
I think barely grasping the sort of beginnings of being trained to stage cry, but she does have the emotionality to draw on. She just mostly keeps it bottled up.
Indeed. And the freezing at the bottom is a lovely manifestation. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
With that stage set, what would you like to do?
Well, I've got my lyrics.
Let's hear it.
I apologize to anybody watching this because I know haiku is not meant to be a sort of lyric-y, sing-songy form.
Indeed.
But that's what I'm going to do anyway because I happen to know it off the top of my head, and the structure provides some difficulty that I hope will provide a bigger payoff. But anyway.
Certainly. You do not need to sing it if you do not feel comfortable. You can speak it,
Yeah.
but totally your call.
I will. Something I do know about haikus, though, is that each individual line is supposed to have a sort of self-contained evocative image, which when you put them all together, have a sort of bigger, more nuanced image. And specifically, the first line is supposed to place it in a setting by using imagery evocative of one of the 4 seasons.
Lovely.
I hope that my writing is obvious enough here, but my first 3 choruses will be summer, and then my 4th chorus will be autumn. And lastly, these will be the choruses between verses recounting the story of, or the in-world equivalent story of Princess Kaguya retreating to the moon, but giving her lover an elixir of immortality. And the way I want to sing this story is going to emphasize that the elixir of immortality was meant to be about patience. Because I think I'm employing a somewhat patient strategy here.
Absolutely. Fire away.
All right, so we've got blazing summer light, yield to the nighttime's shadow. Every sun must set. Eye as bright as flame, yield to moonlight's dream. Every eye must shut. Festive lanterns glow, but festivals always end. Candles burn to naught. I'm kind of hoping that that one will decrease the effect of the lanterns on Raylar.
You beat me to it. Carry on.
Autumn wind brings snow. Traitorous hammer turns coat. Liars never thrive. That one's directed towards both the hammer and to Cloudsburn Bright himself, because he is kind of running a con right now.
Mm. And from here, 2 things begin to happen. 1, is this the point at which you are starting to decrescendo and create your mask?
This is going to be the high point, so I'd like to kind of wisp my hand in the air and let the falling snow come into my hand, build on top of itself, and freeze into a sort of a teal-blue icy Oni mask.
Lovely. Arcane stat?
I think it's Thunderbird standard for her.
2?
I think so. Yes.
Marvelous. Carry on.
I want to start the decrescendo along with sort of having the mask about there towards, I guess, the middle line of the last chorus.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, lovely. Second of all, as you are singing this, jumping back over to Raylar, you hear Suto's yell amidst your kind of enfeeblement. Meek, would you mind repeating it?
Yo, you're gonna need this!
And as you hear Suto's voice, you also feel that the weakness seems to subside. And to Raylar's mind, he might actually associate this as being something that Suto did.
Credit stealing.
Listen, man, I'm the face of the group project.
And what would Raylar like to do as the blazing eye in front of his vision begins to like fade away enough that he can kind of blinkingly see what's going on around him?
first thing he's gonna think is, I knew I liked that guy. And then I'm gonna look out. Did my lightning bolt do anything?
And as you look out, you can actually see that there are only 3 lanterns turned upon you.
Okay.
The fourth guy is still on his hover platform, but has pulled a ways away and is almost completely behind his shield.
Okay. Can I tell if he's still holding it or not?
He is holding the shield. You don't see the lantern. Either it dropped or it's behind the shield.
Okay. Can I turn to see where that voice came from?
Absolutely. You can kind of blearily see over the edge of the topmost podium that you're standing atop. Suto is 2 steps down holding your hammer.
Okay. Tossing it would be a bad idea.
That's the thing. That's why he didn't throw it at you, because he's afraid that
Yeah.
CBB would just attract it.
Well, I appreciate that, because I wasn't actually looking either. It probably would have just hit me. Oh shit, I don't know what to do.
Do you need a moment to think?
I think so.
Totally. In that case, Suto, in the moments after you call, you can see Raylar in his position, kind of like covered in his cloak, as this, like, even from your perspective, you can see that the rays from the lanterns are oppressive and strong, and they seem to be almost holding him in place. You can see that as you call, he starts to kind of feebly turn towards you. Do you have any immediate follow-ups before he does anything?
Raylar turns towards me?
Yes.
He sees the oppressive rays, and he wants to instinctively have it such that they're no longer oppressing him. So I want to do a manifestation.
Yeah.
In where he allows the clouds to condescend very thickly around the guards, such that it's so thick that the light either gets weaker or is completely dispersed by the fog. Yeah.
What is he going to be physically doing? What's going to be his paired action or internal paired action for this manifestation?
Paired action or memory, right?
Both. Yeah, you could both or either.
Okay. He is imagining, or not imagining, he remembers the time when he... Okay. He remembers a time when his daughters really, really wanted a bedtime story. You take a step back. They're out camping.
Yeah.
And it's the 4 of them, Jane, his 2 kids, and him. They're out camping. It's really late at night, so it's pretty much pitch black. And then he hears shuffling. He hears his daughters. They're really restless. They want a bedtime story. One of them is holding like one of those board books. And Suto looks over to Jane. She knows that she gets very grumpy when she doesn't get enough sleep. So what he does is that he kind of ushers the 2 girls like to his sleeping bag, and then he wants to he's covering the 3 of them inside the sleeping bag as the light he turns on the flashlight so that he can see the book. And so he's imagining that covering of a sleeping bag over the light.
Okay, I like that. What is he going to be physically doing alongside this memory, even if it's something as simple as pointing or talking or whispering, or even something like looking away from it? Give me some sort of physical thing he'll be doing alongside it.
He looks at that, and then he looks at the lanterns.
Yeah.
He takes out his hand, and then he just puts his hand lower so that it's blocking the rays.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Cool. And in that case, a similar shimmering rainbow mist to what he saw above begins to gather. Not that Suto would necessarily put this completely together, but he is actually drawing upon the frost crystals in the air that Miyuki is producing, given that at this altitude, in these circumstances, creating true water droplets in the air, fog, is not going to happen, but creating frost particles in the air is. The light, as you are starting to create this little cloud, the light from the lanterns begins to refract through it and dissipate, being less focused on Raylar and kind of more more of a soft light that hits many things around, though nothing in your direction. I should note, as you are doing this, it's not instant. It takes several seconds, maybe like 10 seconds or so. And as you do so, you hear the powerful voice, "Ha!" Again, humorlessly, "Another!" And then as you are doing this, you hear, "Heat always rises." And you feel, as you are finishing the manifestation, your feet leaving the ground as a warm cushion of air begins to pick you up into the air.
Okay. Whoa. I can just make my way down there. Ugh. He's like kind of like shocked about like losing his balance. Is he like standing up, or is he like because I'm imagining he's so taken in shock that he kind of like falls over, and because of the state of his hip, it's hard for him to like roll around and get back up.
Indeed. Imagine flopping back onto like an invisible beanbag chair much larger than your own body.
My goodness. Okay. Yep.
And as
does he notice that like he's like heading towards like the direction of CBB?
He's just rising into the air, slightly going in the direction of Cloudsburn Bright, but as he looks over, the Cloudsburn Bright's head kind of crests the edge of the platform, and his predator bird of prey eyes kind of like slam into yours. And his vision is so intense and fearsome that it holds Suto's eyes on him.
Mm-hmm.
Immediate responses or follow-ups from him.
Because he's thinking at this point, like if he's moving, even though he's moving up, if he's moving towards Cloudsburn Bright, he wants to kind of like drop the hammer to where he thinks Raylar is positioned.
Absolutely.
So like as he's staring, he just like takes a shot. He just waits a couple seconds as he feels being pulled over, and then he takes the hammer in his hand and then just kind of drops it over the edge.
Yeah, excellent. Raylar.
Down below! Sorry, he yells down below.
Indeed. Raylar, before we jump to Miyuki, as Raylar, for the moment, I would say much like you were, he would probably be kind of lost for what to do in this state. But he soon feels that oppressive light beginning to diffuse. It's still there. Like, he still feels creaky, for want of a better term. Stiffer and slower and hazier than usual. But he has, over the next couple seconds, he gets more and more of his senses. You hear what Cloudsburn Bright yells, and you see Suto kind of jerked up on this cushion of hot air that makes the stuff beyond it distorted in your vision because of how warm it is and concentrated it is. And as Suto is lifted up and brought over your head, he drops your hammer precisely down to you, yelling, "Look out below."
Grab it, catch it. Can I count that as like that energy charge that it does?
I actually love that. Sure, we can count as the energy charge.
Okay.
Totally.
And I'm just gonna bring it the hell down.
Where are you aiming?
The floor.
And as you impact, is this initiating a thunderclap, or are you just trying to make a loud bash?
That's a good question, actually. Sure. Yeah, let's do a thunderclap. Yeah.
An enormous blast of sound not only causes the platformed shield bearers to go like bobbing backwards like corks, but also causes the how do I describe it? It causes the quiet ambience of the room that was only broken by his voice and some of your voices to pause as several of the initiates on the stairs leading down kind of jerk their heads up, surprised by the sudden loud noise. Immediate follow-ups from Raylar after doing so.
What happened to CBB?
He is directly behind you, so this would involve whipping around to see.
Okay.
And Suto, to catch you quickly up in time, after dropping the hammer, the cushion of air is bringing you precisely toward Cloudsburn Bright, who, as you approach, brings out a hand in much the same position as he did with Raylar when parrying him initially. He says, "You come to learn at my feet." It's not a question.
Got it. Am I like at
Mid-song,
arms?
I'd like to try to mimic his posture.
Excellent. Ooh, carry on. Suto?
am I within arm's length of him in where like I could meet his hand?
You are approaching arm's length.
Okay. I mean, like, once he gets to that point where it's arm's length, he's just, like, staring transfixed at Clouds from Bright. And then to meet his hand, he takes... he wants to, like, take it such that... and then turn it such that it becomes a handshake. So he takes his other hand and he's like... Nice to meet you. My name is Superman Naruto, but you can call me Suto. It's a lot easier.
And as you do so, he says, "Ha!" again humorlessly across his face. You can see that his like ebony dark skin is inscribed with gleaming glyphs all across it. Though, unlike the kind of orange-red motifs that you've seen among all of Lokris thus far, his are all done in vivid electric blue, including the massive eye symbol on his forehead. And as after yelling "ha," again almost like an announcement, he says, "Of the same ilk, once again, I detect a conspiracy afoot, or perhaps a joke."
We are here to meet you, but we're kind of hoping we could maybe have a talk.
"Very well. I enjoy speaking. Sit."
Where is Suto at this point? Like at the podium?
He has been let off of his little cushion and is standing on the topmost podium. Raylar is a little behind him and to his left. Raylar, this is the point at which you are whipping around hammer in hand. Suto, at the point at which he said sit, this was the same moment where Raylar blasted his thunderclap out across the room, but it was facing away from you, so you're not caught full blast in it by any means.
Sick. Sounds good, sounds good. And then he goes to do crisscross applesauce on the podium, but he puts his like arms, like his hands on his thighs. Yep, and then he stares intently back at Clouds Burn Bright.
Raylar, after whipping around hammer in hand, you see Suto sitting down. What do you want to do?
Raylar would like to watch, but Aidan has a question.
Yeah.
So I know from a previous mission that, and the book, that Enclave emergency ping out takes like a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Does it have to be like attached to somebody for it to activate?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It needs to be in their possession. That's a great
All right.
question, though. It's a very sneaky idea, but good, good try. Does he have any follow-ups or because I'm sure this thought is running through his mind as well, but does he want to do anything else after observing Suto sitting, or does he just want to kind of listen along with his hammer ready?
He's just gonna be ready.
Yeah. Miyuki, actions.
Honestly, I'm trying to focus almost all of my magic on the eclipse at this point.
Indeed.
The one concession I am willing to make is that Thunderbolts have their magic pre-programmed, so I'd like to just pull one of them out and be ready to throw it in case anybody attacks one of my colleagues.
Friends!
I felt that.
friend.
Sounded like
What I
pained.
said earlier. No.
I felt that coming from a mile away. Now, Thunderbolt now in hand. What would you like to do?
Continue the storm calling.
And as you continue to brew, this is the point at which you are decrescendoing,
Right.
yeah? It's fine. I understand old habits.
Yes.
This point which you're decrescendoing, yeah?
Yes.
The mask is in hand. You said you want to start to slide it across your face. Was that correct?
Yes.
Now, two things that I should note. Miyuki's done some storm brewing in her time. None of it will ever have felt this way to her. I will say that one for a fact. As she is singing, it's as though her voice is getting pulled from her mouth rather than being pushed. It's as though when she sings, the blood in her body is moving with a tide invisible to her. It's as though while she is singing, she is aging. And yet she knows no age and has not for a long time, if ever, if I understand her backstory correctly.
A long time by some perspectives.
Yeah. But what she sees upon the horizon is a shape forming in the sky. It is not a moon, it is a disk of ice.
I can work with that.
What does she want to do as she notices this? Oh, initially a spot in her vision, but then growing larger and larger. She is continuing to sing, but I should note, like I said, it feels as though her body is being pushed and pulled by a tide. Like every time she breathes, it's not her breathing, it's someone else breathing for her. As she is singing, it's not her pushing her voice out of her throat, it's someone doing it for her.
I'd like to move with the tide. In the tides, there's this push and pull, and though it's not from Miyuki's homeland, there is a dance that is all about push and pull. So I think she's going to try to make sort of forward strides and then backward strides like dance steps, as if she's doing a tango with an invisible partner.
Yeah, absolutely. A smart move, too. As she is doing so, is she going to be progressing her song, or is she at like a vamping point?
Let's see. I mean, it feels like I'm probably going to drop an energy threshold, maybe even 2.
You're past 1.
Yeah. I don't think I can really do a restoration activity in the middle of this song
Definitely
all
not.
that easily.
Yeah.
I do have ideas about the hallucinations once they start to hit, but
Yeah.
let's think. How can I?
Hallucinations are good.
I wonder if I could manifest in a way to restore energy. Could I cause a layer of frost to spread out from the points of contact I have with this balcony and basically suck in the heat, convert it into essence?
Oh, that's very interesting. Well, first of all, I like the action. Where is she going to be pulling this from? What's your hook?
I mean, the iciness is an obvious one.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the conversion point that's the interesting one for me.
that is tricky, yeah. I think she'll probably go back to when she first woke up, not having expected to be able to do so. And she realized that everything she touched rose. And as she began to descend the mountain, she realized she got stronger and stronger as she did.
Okay, that makes sense. As she does so, her fingertips become icy hot. It's an incredibly uncomfortable experience for her. And she feels the warmth rushing up her arms, like when you swallow soup that's too hot. But more notably, where they pass, she finds that her skin begins to flake off, leaving a cold, kind of granite-looking scab in its wake. When it hits her core, however, leaving these nasty, like long, winding spires up her arms from her fingertips, she feels a sudden flush of energy. Kind of like the little blush that came into her cheeks earlier, but far more intense. It's visceral and exhilarating.
After doing this for a little while and incurring those injuries, I think I want to try to mitigate the injury factor a little bit. I want to make movements with my fingers as I'm sucking up the heat, as if I'm folding paper, transforming it into something different, so that the point of transformation is not my core, but my fingertips.
And as you do so, this feels like it isolates the potency in your fingers, but it becomes unbelievably hot and painful. Like, imagine playing piano on, like, a lit stove.
Mm.
What did you want to do from here? Do you need a moment?
No, I will endure this, and every now and then I'll pass my fingers along areas that I've already frozen to try to calm them.
And as she
If
would
it
do
becomes
so,
unbearable, I have another idea.
I should note, even though she doesn't seem like the type to yelp in pain, her breath would be coming in like rattling, like rattling hisses, and her body would be shaking, and her hands would be trembling violently. Her hands want nothing more than to pull away from this.
Okay. I could try to ease up on a little though. I just need enough to keep me going. I can still let my energy levels drop somewhat.
Yeah. Pulling your hands away?
Yeah.
And there's you would feel a gasp quickly form in your throat, and your fingertips are smoldering. What do you want to do from here?
Continue the storm calling. I've spent too much focus on other things.
And as she steps back into it, the energy...
Brewing.
Don't worry. The energy now recharged to the point where she can go back into it with renewed vigor. There's a couple of things that she would note. Actually, no, she wouldn't note it yet. I'll get to that in a moment. Jumping back down to Raylar and Suto. The two of you are, one is sitting, one is standing before Cloudsburn Bright. And as Suto sits, Cloudsburn Bright's brow, his heavy knitted V of a brow, softens for a moment. And he says, I am humbled. Thank you. I have much to share. I've learned much. And he gestures out behind him towards the sunset. As he says, the eye is of two natures, much like your own. One rests. One seeks counsel and wisdom in dreams, processing the day, the lid protecting it from harm. The other opens. It judges, it notices, and it prompts the body to action. You are at war with the world through your eyes. I have found a new eye. The world clears before my gaze. I notice now what I was meant for, what I was made for, in a way I could never have formerly conceived. You, and you, he gestures to Raylar as well, are gifted. You are in touch with the sky, she who birthed me. You are in touch with your eyes, and have within you the seed of potential that can bloom forth into more than merely a tree. I invite you to walk with me out across the horizon, to take to the sky and insist upon her return of our birthright. Allow the eye to speak to you in dreams and guide you in wakefulness. And I will gratefully walk at your side as we conquer. There is much more to share, but first, you must make the decision yourself. He steps back, and a quick confirm, I believe both of you are base level will.
Yes.
I will use these words fully understanding the connotation. As he steps back with his hands outreached, one to each of you, he is worshipful in his magnificence, framed against the setting sun, the still setting sun, his glyphs glowing brightly, his powerful body obviously that of a demigod. The glyph on his forehead, the bright eye, gleams wildly, and you can see superimposed on it the symbol of the stylized eye local to Lokris, superimposed over his own.
Can I tell if he's like playing it up for the crowd that's in front of him, or is this like all genuine?
What's your spirit stat?
Nothing.
This feels so genuine it is painful.
Okay.
May I ask the same thing with a +2 in spirit?
As a father, Suto would have had similar situations with his children when they got bullied at school.
Suto, he joined the Enclave because he was shown his magical potential and was excited when the Enclave showed that through them he would be able to get more powerful, so then he would be able to do more good. And so he is, like, for a few seconds just genuinely considering Cosberg Bride's offer. And then he sighs as he stands up and he takes his baseball bat from his back and he admits, that sounds really good, but the job is the job. And then he points his bat towards CBB.
Clouds Burn Bright looks genuinely, not pained would be the word, it's a softer version of that, you know? And he says, there are greater goods in this world than upholding your word. There are greater goods in this world than obedience. And there are greater goods in this world as well than the word that you currently abide by. You are your own. You are not theirs.
I am my own, aren't I?
A moment while Suto is thinking. Raylar, do
Yeah.
you have any other actions you'd like to take or things you'd like to say? Because I think that pause is beautiful and totally in character to me.
I'm gonna look him dead in the eyes and say, I'm not a conqueror. I'm not someone to lead an army into battle. I'm not a soldier. I'm just here to make sure that people are nice to each other. And I wind up my hammer to and swing it right at him.
And as you do so, he once again calls, "Ha!" And you can see that he brings forth a hand again, this time knuckles first, and swipes his hand sideways. As you strike towards him, you feel him parry you with his bare hand, but it doesn't knock the hammer completely from your hand or anything. Instead, you can see that for the first time since you have arrived, he smiles, though the smile does not reach his eyes. As he says, "Then test your mettle!" He says, "I have great sympathy for you." And again, his genuineness is painful. Follow-ups from Raylar after the initial parry.
I'm gonna look at him and go, "You're very strong. I can see why they approached you." And I'm gonna take out the badge again and go, "Do you want to come back?"
And
You did a lot of, from what I understand, you did a lot of good. A lot. In my opinion, probably more than you're doing here right now, more than you could do here right now.
he again smiles, and this time it does reach his eyes. And he says, "You remind me of many I tutored." He says, "Greater callings, young man. Greater callings." And then his eyes flare wildly again and his brow knits as he says, "Convince me."
I'm ready to think about how to respond to that.
Suto, any follow-ups from you?
I'm still thinking, can we go to Miyuki?
That's fine.
Thank you!
Miyuki, actions from here.
How's my ice disc doing?
Your ice disc grows. It's almost half the size you need it to be at this point.
Okay.
Now that you've seen it grow,
I'm-
you see that it's developing much like a cloud. It just happens to be a very thin, very long, very circular, and very dense cloud.
The main thing I need it to be is opaque. Which I can do. I can make... So you've got clear ice and you've got cloudy ice, and the reason you've got the two different kinds is because clear ice is basically just frozen water. Cloudy ice is ice with microscopic air particles trapped in it, which is why when you freeze ice cubes in an ice tray, not that Miyuki would know about refrigerators, they freeze from the outside in, and so the air gets trapped in the center, which is why the center of the ice cube is cloudy and the edges are clear. I can probably trap air throughout the thing and make it cloudy ice by just letting the winds stay as windy as they are up here. That barely requires any modification on the storm calling, brewing.
Well said. Is she just going to be continuing what she is doing from previous?
Yeah, I think I liked that parry. I'm trying to learn it, but other than that, just continuing to focus here. I guess the end result is not so much to deprive him of strength for his magic, although that would be nice, and kind of the original goal, but I guess now more to weaken his mental resolve to the other two's arguments.
Yeah.
And possibly mine if I end up joining in the debate.
As you are doing so, however, your attention would be grabbed from your current activity for the first time since you began doing it. Oh, and as a side note, feel free to talk in chat, by the way. When you're not being cut to, you're totally welcome to type. However, one of the platform guys has zoomed up to your current level. His shield is out in front of him, and his lantern is being held to the side. And as he lands, he steps off of his platform, which seems to close like a fan and go up towards his back, almost maybe like it clicks into place on his armor or something like that. And through his helmet, which covers almost all of his face, you hear, "Another interloper. Stand down at once."
I have raised no weapons against you. I bear only my mask.
Your interference in our environment is palpable. While we cannot directly describe it, we of my station, we know it is present. The eye does not lie to us. Desist.
That which cannot be described cannot be known.
He straightens up and clangs his shield into the ground and says, "At this very moment, folk of our order are rushing to this very site. I would recommend you lay down your arms," gesturing to your sword, "and cease whatever sortilege you are engaged in at this very moment, or our response will be swift and unforgiving. The other interlopers are being dealt with by our chosen."
You seek to control me with fear?
If the truth frightens you, I would recommend readdressing your worldview.
I'd like to propel my thunderbolt at him by flicking it with thunderclap.
Yep. And as you blast, he goes launching backwards as the bolt laces across his shield, and he goes clattering a heap a ways along the stone catwalk beyond you. What do you want to do immediately after doing so?
Is he unconscious?
It's not moving at the moment.
Then I will approach him.
He starts to
Unsheath
stir.
the sword. And stab.
He is well armored, so the only place you could try to get him cleanly would be through the eye hole, and he is stirring.
Can I get at the neck?
That is actually armored. He has a collar.
Oh, interesting. Well, he's very attached to his eyes.
Skill and sensory?
Holy
Skill is
shit.
good.
Your skill is quite high, I remember.
Skill is 2 pluses. Sensory is baseline.
That's what I had a feeling of. And the blade goes snaking in through the eye hole, and you feel him twitch wildly and stop moving. Are you resheathing?
No, I'll get the other one.
The other eye hole is struck as well.
And I'll say, let the tranquil darkness take you.
Resheathing the sword in your gut. What would you like to do from here?
Continue the storm brewing. Got it right in the first time that time.
And as you are resheathing, you notice that on his helm, the eye symbol glows. And atop the larger doors nearby to you, the mosaic decal of the eye glows fiercely as well. And with...
What a hassle.
As this happens, your storm brewing recommences. You can feel yourself right on the edge of yellow essence again. But
Okay.
you can see your great ice mask is building in the distant sky. Any follow-ups from here, or are you settled with continuing your formerly stated actions for the moment?
Yep.
Excellent. In that case, down below, Suto, what do you think?
He is thinking, you can see that he has lowered his bat for a little bit as he repeats again, like, I am my own man. And as my own person, one of the values that I try to instill in my family and my daughters is loyalty. And looking at you, you're not loyal at all. It's painful. And then he raises his bat up again, and he goes, I'm going to stand by my loyalty to the Enclave.
This is after he has yelled, convince me. And he turns to Suto, and he says, I do not hold this attitude against you. I once believed it. He says, loyalty is earned in 2 directions. He brings up the knuckles that he used to parry the hammer, and from them he flicks his fingers upwards slightly, and you can see that a set of phantasmal claws emerge from his fingertips.
So sick.
He says, be loyal only to those who are loyal to you in turn. And trust not those who have no incentive to be. He says, be your own master. Be your own king. Allow loyalty to be given freely, willingly, gladly, eagerly to you. He takes a step towards Suto. And you can see that the claws on his hands morph wildly as his hand comes together like this and becomes a single great blade. He says, and then you will feel not bound by such tethers. You will feel not enslaved to your word, for your word will carry a greater calling.
Suto meets his blade nail thing with his own bat. It's kind of like in a crossing kind of motion. Assuming that he's close enough to do that.
He can hear his bat sizzling slightly on contact with the blade.
And as he's doing so, as he's talking, he pauses and then he starts to laugh. I don't want to be a king. I'm already what I want to be.
And you can see that once again he smiles, more gently this time. And brings the blade away, having left the burnt outline of the eye symbol on the side of your bat.
Shit.
And looks to you and to Raylar with his smile turning wild, like his eyes going from gentle to striking and almost crazed, as he says, "Convince me then! Convince me that kingship is a lesser calling. Convince me! Convince me, why don't you?"
Raylar, are you gonna do anything? This is the player speaking.
Yeah.
I actually did have something, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
Suto, if you have an immediate follow-up, you're welcome to it then.
He says, "Convince me," right? Oh, man. Sorry, good lord.
Aidan, if you think of what you were trying to go for, you can do it.
I did, and it is no longer applicable. So it's.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive. It was like a talking point from something that we already moved on from that
Indeed.
like is already resolved. So I gotta figure something else out now.
Okay.
And in this case, while the two of you are, for the moment, kind of struck dumb by what he has said, you can see that with his blade up, he says, "You have one chance." And he snaps his hand down. The blade that he has conjured vanishes. You hear a burst from around you, and he reverses a thunderclap to suck you in towards him at wild speed, as though you were flung bodily in his direction.
Oh, that is so sick.
What do you want to do as you are hurled through the air towards him?
I snap out of my dumbness, and I want to. How far away am I from him? Because I'm trying to get a gauge of like how much time I have.
You have like a tenth of a second to react.
Oh, okay.
Is that just Suto or both of us?
Both of you.
Okay.
He's as soon as being sucked in, he holds his like bat right in front of him. So then he's intending for like the bat to make contact with CBB.
Is this like a bunting position?
Kind of. So like instead of like being like bunting like across, it's more like this, like
Yeah,
kind of in like
like
I
a
want to hit your
thrust,
gut
yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
Yep.
I unironically had the exact same thought with the hammer.
Yep. So both like starting to bring your hammers out. Now, since you're thrown forwards, this isn't like a well coordinated thrust by any means. This is kind of like a lunging out with what you can as you're being hurled through the air. And as you do so, his movement is a wild blur as he brings his arm around like this. Not only does he parry both incoming blows as he does so, but he follows up with a hand that comes up like this. Lightning cracks from his fingertips, and the two of you feel as though you've been punched in the stomach by lightning. Like lightning made solid. This would completely knock the wind out of the two of you and send you hurling backwards pretty much to where you started, with like your whole body's doubled over midair. Follow-ups, we're going to begin with Raylar. He has the double reflex here, and so he'll be able to kind of get his way out of this first as he is starting to fall back towards the ground.
Can I do like that, like the anime or like superhero like landing thing where I land on my feet with one hand on the ground? I just like scrape backwards along the floor.
Yes, I'm absolutely okay with that because of the double plus to reflex. You can do
Yeah.
like you can finish the flip in midair and land like that. I should note, you feel as though he cracked a rib at minimum.
I will drop to my knees after I land like
Yep.
that.
Immediate follow-ups after dropping to your knees, besides trying to catch your breath, I would imagine.
Pretty much just trying to breathe, and I'm gonna like, while doing that, look up to see where Suto landed, and then after confirming what happened there, try to look for Miyuki, wherever the fuck.
This would
they
be
went.
kind of like over your shoulder, like where the fuck is she? Before we go further, Suto, how do you want to try to land this thing?
With a +1 to reflex, I'm going to try. I know like this is happening like super fast, but he's gonna try to like bring his like hands together and do a thunderclap towards the direction that he's being towards to. So then he's hoping that the opposite force would kind of lessen that impact.
Absolutely, that's brilliant, and it works perfectly fine too. this would actually, instead of causing you to skid across the ground, it would actually cause you to land kind of in a running start in Clouds Burn Bright's direction.
Sweet. And as he does so, like, the adrenaline is pumping, and then he kind of gets, like, the same, like, kind of wild eyes that CBB has. Like, he's getting into it.
Absolutely. As he rushes, what is he going to be doing? Is this coming in for another strike? And if so, describe it to me.
I guess, how many accolades are, like, right in front of me? Acolytes are in front of me.
None.
Acolyte.
There are none on his platform right now. You guys are all alone.
And he has no
degrees on the wall
accolades
behind him.
He has no accolades either.
So yeah, you guys are alone.
PhD, a master's.
He has them hung on the wall.
Gotcha. I mean, this is Suto, so he is going to go and charge. For CBB, he is imagining that he is like the safe base and that he is rushing to get to him. And then as he is doing so, he wants to do his out of the blue perk again. This time he is. I'm assuming that he has something metallic on him, like even if the podium is metallic, he just wants to like come in front of him.
His big ass fancy hat.
That'll do it. I'm going for the hat. I'm going on top of this fool.
And as you bolt out through the air, you are drawn straight up to the hat. You slam into it, and kind of like you took the hammer earlier, you actually kind of catch the hat at speed, meaning that you could have the momentum to go like straight past him. If you don't want to do that, how do you want to make sure you're not doing that as you rematerialize directly over Clouds Burn Bright?
Because that's what I'm being attracted to. What he wants to do is he wants to, as he starts to materialize, he is just imagining he's taking his legs and like wrapping them around CBB's head.
Yep.
And that he's using that to kind of anchor him so then he doesn't fly forward. And
you do feel your legs anchor around something. What do you want to do from here?
He takes one of his he did this before. I don't know how it's gonna work this time. He takes one of his baseballs, which is one of his lightning bolts.
Yep.
He basically takes it and then like jams it in CBB's head. He's
real
not
quick.
afraid.
Before you do the jamming part, as you take out the baseball, you feel yourself being hurled wildly away. You grabbed onto his arm with your legs, and he is very strong. And so he hucks you like a shot put back off of the platform, kind of in the same kind of crashing motion as to when you caught the hammer earlier. But this time, you don't have as much horizontal momentum. It's like like that. As you are being thrown, immediate follow-ups. This is like, because you'd register being thrown just as you are leaving his grasp.
My Thunderclap is still on cooldown, so I can't do that maneuver again. He is going to... this isn't going to work. He's going to try to angle his momentum such that he's going downwards, and then he wants to do kind of like a baseball kind of skid to kind of like... land, if not safely, then at least with control. If that makes any sense.
Okay, I see what you mean. This is another pretty substantial landing, and while his stats are pretty good, even with control, this will hurt substantially. Can you find other ways to lessen your impact for us? Do you need a moment to think?
Yeah, I do.
Sure. Raylar, you've been flung backwards. Immediate follow-ups.
I was looking for Suto and Miyuki.
Yep.
I see Suto.
You see Suto, and looking over your shoulder, you would see Miyuki, unbeknownst to you, shortly after she killed the shield bearer guy. And you can see her kind of placidly walking along the high catwalk near where you guys ported in.
Okay. Does it look like she's doing anything to me?
You see that the air around her is glimmering with almost what looks like, I don't know, glitter. I don't know if Raylar would know what glitter is, but it would look is shiny up there, pretty much.
Do I see whatever?
Oh yes, she has a mask over her face partially. Sorry, thank you.
Okay. Do I see whatever disc that she's forming?
Well, in this case, the disc isn't forming near to her, so as you like flick over your head like this, if you would look back towards Clouds Burn Bright, you would actually see the strange shadowy disc way off in the horizon of the sky. That definitely wasn't there earlier.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if I'd put two and two together.
I'm not sure you would either. Miyuki's doing something placid and weird.
Yeah. Okay. I imagine Out of the Blue is off of cooldown at this
very
point,
off of cooldown.
but is Thunderclap off of cooldown as well?
When did you last use it?
Up on the platform.
Yeah.
When I got my hammer back.
Yeah, I'd say yeah, you have it back.
Okay. Seeing Suto get fucking yeeted off in a direction. Yeah, I'm gonna say, you know what, my turn, and get a running start. Bring the hammer down to Thunderclap forward, and I want to convert that into. There was actually a part of this that I wanted to do before that started.
Sure.
That I would like to go back and say.
That's fine.
Can I take 2 lightning bolts, and I'm going to assume that the top of my hammer is made of a metal of some kind, and like attach them with like static electricity to the side of the hammer.
Oh, that's actually really cool. You know, that's a very easy manifestation, so I'm okay with that.
Okay. And I want to running start Thunderclap onto the ground to like jump up towards him.
It's like a pole vault almost.
Yeah, sorta.
Yeah, sure.
And then Out of the Blue, straight at him, and then right as I'm like dematerializing, can I like swing that hammer with the thunderbolts?
Yeah, absolutely.
Lightning bolts.
Do you want the lightning bolts to go off as you make contact?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in this case, as you rematerialize, you are familiarly met with his hand as he catches it again. But as you go in for the swing, you can see that almost like, not lazily, because he's moving blindingly fast, his other hand comes up to catch the hammer as it hits. But on impact, the 2 bolts kind of zip around it, in like a, how to describe it, like a boomerang arc, but very, very tight in, because it's only like a couple feet that they're crossing. And they both slam into either side of his chest. You can see that for a moment, his eyes go from this to this to this, as his eyes kind of snap closed for the moment, and he brings his hands in like so, like on kind of like on either side of him, and he brings his hands out, and he emits a thunderclap from flexing.
Holy shit, that's so cool! I need to learn how to do that! Sorry.
I imagine this flex looking kind of comically exaggerated.
Yes, correct.
He's like Master Roshi full power.
And all of his glyphs like burn like wildly for the moment that it happens. Now I should note, this is not nearly as targeted of a thunderclap as his like vacuum wave one that he just did. And so while Raylar is thrown away, he is able to, like, instead of going in an arc, he just is kind of pushed solidly back across the ground, skidding similarly to how before, clearly just as a way for CBB to like get you off of him. However, you can see that your bolts have actually left 2 big-ass smolder marks on either side of his chest. And you can see that as you are kind of skidding away, his eyes shoot open and he smiles like almost insanely as he does so. He says, "Ha! Good hit! Ha ha!" Immediate follow-ups from Raylar after doing so.
I'm gonna look back at Miyuki. Do I see any changes, or is it still...
Let's go check in, and then I'll check in with Suto. Miyuki, the mask is nearly formed, but you can start to hear, amidst the sounds of combat and zapping and blasting, footsteps on the stairs behind the main doors that you are near to.
Could I throw a lightning bolt to the spot above the doors to destroy a little bit of the rocky structure and create a sort of cave-in that prevents them from getting in?
Oh, that's quite cool. Yeah, there is like a stony carven symbol above the door. So if you want to flick a bolt up there, it will arc to it. You want to do so?
Yes.
The bolt strikes, and it's not a huge cave in by any means, but a couple of pieces of like carven masonry thud down in front of the door, blocking easy opening. Immediate follow-ups after doing so.
I want to pick up the pace a little of my eclipse.
Yeah. And what will this look like?
Decrescendo faster, push the mask a little faster. I expect this might take a toll on my breath.
Yeah. I was
So,
literally
actually-
about to get to that, so carry on.
So, you know how there's that certain medical procedure where if your lungs fill with water, you can actually puncture the pleural membrane to let it leak out?
Yeah.
I think I just like to take out the sword, and then now I've got an extra hole.
Sheathing your sword in a different part of your body than you're used to.
No, just take it out, let the hole be empty.
Oh, I see. So you're just leaving it there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And this is not the sort of thing that an observer would see, besides like a little hole in the fabric of her garment. However, after doing so, you would not. It's not like you're a balloon. You're not like deflating or anything like that. But
I may be an anime character, but I'm not Luffy.
however, at this point, you feel that rather than your breath kind of being sucked out of you like this, it feels almost like you are circular breathing through a hole you made in your chest.
I was just about to say something about circular breathing.
Indeed, yeah. And your voice is getting so quiet that it is almost a whisper. No one would be able to hear it amidst the sound of the fighting. But your eyes flicking up to the sky see that your disc is at size. What would you like to do from here?
Okay. Is the disc already in front of the sun, or do I have to move it there?
The disc is just next to the sun. In the same way that your mask is only covering part of your face.
I said I was building up towards utter silence, so I would like to kind of continue the sort of tone of the song, but only mentally, as if I'm recalling it, and I don't
Yeah.
want to assign any kind of vocal tonal quality to it in my head. Like, you know how you can sort of think of words,
Yeah,
but without thinking of them in any particular person's voice?
yeah.
I'd like to continue the song silently that way, as I move the mask the rest of the way over my face.
And could you give us the song's lyrics one more time?
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Blazing summer light, yield to nighttime's shadow, every sun must set. Eyes as bright as flame, yield to moonlight's dream, every eye must shut. Festive lanterns glow, but festivals always end. Candles burn to naught. Autumn wind brings snow. Traitorous hammer turns coat. Liars never thrive. And again, those are the choruses. Each one would be interspersed with a recounting of a tale of the Princess of the Moon giving her lover an elixir of immortality, signaling to him to have patience.
And as you do so, a shadow falls. As your pseudo eclipse disk shifts in front of the sun. Your face is partially obscured, or I mean fully obscured to an outsider by your mask, but to you it does restrict your vision heavily. But through your vision, you can see, in like a pause point amidst the combat, you can see Clouds Burn Bright looking wildly and fiercely, almost like wildly happy to be fighting. His face falls, and he just very slowly turns to look up towards the now blocked sun. before we go further, Miyuki, as you bring the mask across, your knees buckle under you, and you sink down to the floor. Before we go further with that, Suto. Landing.
There's no ceiling, is there?
There is not a ceiling. It is like an open air thing.
What he wants to do as he's like being that way, he recalls the trick that CBB did earlier with like the hot air rises, right? And he wants to be able to do that. So essentially there's like a burst of hot air that then goes to kind of like carry Suto up and then change his momentum. So instead of like slamming onto something, instead he goes up.
Now, a quick question. Obviously, you had a very cool, defiant speech against Clouds Burn Bright earlier.
Was that?
What's it gonna? I mean, I would call it defiant, because you questioned his loyalty. What would be going through Suto's mind using the tool of this person that I would say he has established a somewhat interesting dynamic with?
Wait, are you asking what he's thinking at this point?
Yeah, I mean, what would make him, besides the fact that, oh, this seems like a nice tool, there's definitely like a symbolic significance to like using the weapon of the enemy, if he would even call Cloudsburn Bright an enemy at this juncture.
He is... Listen, when Suto said that he knows what he is, like he already is what he wants to be. He doesn't mean an Enclave agent, as cool as that is. It's the fact that he's a father and he has a beautiful family and that he has this amazing responsibility to instill wisdom and goodness into his daughters, who are going to be the next generation in the world that he lives in. He sees CBB as a potential mentor figure, and he's kind of not exactly projecting a kind of fatherly image onto him, but he has this level of respect where he too, where CBB too can be the one that can lead like multiple generations of whether they be Enclave agents or warriors or whatever to their fullest potential and greatness.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of what I guessed, but I'm glad I heard it from your voice. The hot air comes so naturally. It is as though he's always known how to do it. And he feels not like a trampoline, that's a little goofy, right? But more like a swooping sensation as his momentum redirects enough to like touch him right back up onto that top platform, with his feet just like naturally stepping onto the top surface, as though like he had a running start into doing so. What do you want to do as you land back up here?
So am I just like on? I'm trying to picture. Am I on a structure or am I like on like the hot air?
You're on the top platform again with Cloudsburn Bright. The hot air just like kind of billowed you back up there. Unless you don't want to get back on that top platform, is there someone else you want to try to land?
He since it is essentially there's no ceiling, he just wants to have the momentum be up.
Okay.
So that he's like really high above.
He is not going to be able to get that high up with this trick.
Okay.
So is it acceptable to just get to the top platform? If you were trying to get higher than that, you might be able to get like another couple feet, but it wouldn't be substantial.
Sure. All right. In that case, yeah, I'll accept like being on the platform.
Yeah. This would put you right next to Raylar, who, having like looked wildly around to see what the fuck Miyuki is doing, I'm going to jump him back into actions. Raylar, what would you like to do after checking in with Miyuki?
Suto just appears next to me.
Yeah, or rather, pardon me. This is after the sequence with the double bolt thing, and you being thrust backward again. My bad. This would be like, so you've skidded backwards. Cloudsburn Bright would congratulate you on the good hit, and Suto would like apparate at your side, like as though he had been standing there for a while.
Turn to Suto and go, what if we both hit him at the same time?
I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
And as you say this,
like,
as you say this, Cloudsburn Bright yells, "I like it! I like it!"
like Suto's laughing with him. Like he's excited. He likes it.
And
let's go.
Are you going to go running in?
Yeah. If Suto's gonna follow, yeah.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
As
We're
you
probably
run in-
gonna die. Let's do this.
As you run in, what would you like to prepare, beginning with Raylar? What are you going to be doing as you're running in, holding weapons, prepping attacks, stuff like that?
Well, I'm out of shit to do. Storm Brewing wouldn't exactly help in the way that I would want it to right now,
It's a
so I'm
little
kind of
slow,
out
yeah.
of abilities to use. But I would like to when I reach him, I don't want to necessarily swing the hammer. I kind of want to just like jump at him,
Yeah.
like sort of. And actually, no. I do want to swing. I want to swing the hammer, and then I am anticipating that he will catch the hammer, and I want to like throw a punch after I hit him with the hammer after he catches it.
Absolutely. And Suto, what would you like to do? How are you going to prep this assault as you charge in?
Oh man, not gonna lie, that was pretty sick, Raylar. So
This is going to be happening at the same time as Raylar is doing what he just described.
Am I able to get up?
Oh, what was that, Lethal?
Am I able to get up?
I'll hear about it in a second after I talk to Suto, but yes.
How far away am I? I want to see how much time I have to prepare.
Okay, so this top platform is not big. You have maybe 10 big running paces.
Oh, cool. Awesome. That's enough. That's enough. As I am running, I am doing so in a way that my feet are keeping rhythm, and then he's mumbling something under his breath that just gets louder and louder, and it just ends up, we will rock you, and he wants to like storm brewing, such that he wants to conjure like a lightning bolt that hits is going straight towards CBB. At the same time, he is like rushing and just ready to hit him with his bat.
Absolutely. And to briefly check in up with Miyuki, your knees feel incredibly weak, as do your arms. However, you can pull yourself to your feet using the railing.
Okay. So I hear they're gonna try to both go in on him with Out of the Blue at the same time.
Or not with out of the blue, but with blows, like normal attacks.
Okay. We've seen him parry a lot. And honestly, I really love that parry. It's a move I haven't seen before, which is rare for me. And I've been trying to pick it up. So I think what I would like to do is try to, if I'm able, get in there first with Out of the Blue. He's going to try to parry me, and then just as Out of the Blue is ending, I want to try to use his parry against him to parry his parry, opening him up for their two blows.
How are you going? Okay, Jesus Christ, there's a lot going on there. In that case, let's begin this sequence.
Dude's
of
only got
events.
2 hands.
Miyuki initiates her first Out of the Blue from high on this balcony, like the catwalk overlooking everything, across a long lateral distance towards Clouds Burn Bright. I should note, you have 2 allies in the way, and yet Out of the Blue conducts directly to him with no question. However,
I think the way I would like to do it in my weakened state is by climbing up onto the edge of the balcony.
Yeah.
And then I think just kind of stepping off and letting myself fall as my body knows it wants to. And then...
Yeah, absolutely. And unlike in every instance this has happened before, where he has parried a hand with a hand, Miyuki, the way you just described doing that, when you emerge from Out of the Blue, you are almost in a free fall stance, face first, and he has parried you with his eyes. You are frozen face to face in midair, with his eyes staring into yours. And instead of in his booming voice, he whispers, almost tenderly, under his breath. I will try not to blow out your eardrums with this. Daughter of Shadow, your power is immense. But in that frozen moment, as the 2 attacks, unbeknownst to you, a 3rd attack is coming in, how are you going to try to pull off his parry on his parry?
I think his hands would already. Well, no, he parried me with his eyes.
I should note that
Can I?
that the blush that Miyuki felt at the beginning of or towards the beginning of the mission would come back full force into her cheeks. Like, regardless of whether she wants it to or not, I'm going to make the call.
Yeah, there's a blush in her cheeks. There's a fury in her eyes and a battle happy grin on her face. I need to draw out his hands. I need to bait them out. Can I let 2 of my hairpins fall from my hair so that my hair kind of flares out a little bit?
Yep.
And then have them sort of kind of start to convert into electricity around him?
Oh, that's really cool,
And then-
actually.
And then I'm sort of upside down, right? Can I bring out my own hands and then intercept his, because I know where they'll be going to?
And as you bring out the 2 bolts, his hands come out, but also his body starts to move up into the air. Your eyes are on his, so you're not sure exactly what he is doing. However, you can see that his hands are both coming out in those kind of rigid, structured motions that he does. Yeah.
Luck pitch. As he rises, he repeats, heat always rises.
Oh, that's so fucking good. Yeah, you got me. He would, as he rises into the air, repeat, heat always rises. And he adds, daughter of shadow.
Night always falls.
And as his hands come up, he effortlessly catches the 2 bolts before they even spark to electricity, and rapidly manipulates them in his fingers. But for the other 2, I'm going to have you briefly adapt your actions. You are paces away from him when Miyuki appears in front of his face. She's suffused with electricity as she does so. You can see there's a couple of quick motions, and he rises into the air, doing a perfect split as he does so, with 1 foot aimed towards each of you as his hands try to handle Miyuki's electricity. How do you want to adapt your actions now that he is 3 to 4 feet off the ground with a foot pointing at each of your faces?
Raylar, do you want to go first?
Okay.
The storm brewing Suto pulled off, I'm guessing, is not changing. It's kind of too late to.
No. Oh yeah, no, for sure. Because okay, what Suto's gonna do? Fucking Suto. He sees the gap that he's above the air. And what he wants to do is that he wants to baseball slide underneath the legs, and then
the foot as you're sliding, the foot tracks you, by the way. So
oh, does it? Oh,
yeah.
Come on.
He bends his knee to kind of follow you as you slide underneath him.
But do I get all the way through?
Yeah, you're under.
And then I want to change my trajectory, take his bat, and then have it hit the first body part that it can reach.
That's great. That would be a perfect nut shot were he not very good at parrying things. He blocks it with his foot.
There's a nut shot.
Does he parry that with his balls?
He parried it with his
testicles of steel.
Wabi, are we writing an Oglock comic here?
He parries it with his butt. No, he parries it with his foot.
Just bounces off.
But
okay.
However,
breaking out the dick foo.
God, I'm sweating now. Thanks. And Raylar, adapting your actions as he rises into the air.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I'm going to. I think instead of swinging the hammer, I'm gonna try to throw it.
Yeah.
And while it's traveling, I'm gonna follow up with my own strike still, at a different location. My idea, my plan is I want him to parry it, and then I would like to strike his his knee in the direction that it doesn't bend.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And at the same time, all this shit is happening, a bolt of fucking lightning hits him from above. Now, Raylar, as you throw, His leg rapidly kicks up and strikes the hammer, but your punch comes in and gets him like in clear into the patella, like in the side of the knee. As you do so, this is when the lightning bolt hits. All of you are kind of in proximity to this thing. And so all of you for a moment just completely dazzled by this. But
That's fine. I was low on energy anyway.
quite. But as you do so, you feel all of you a sudden whirl around you. And as you like quickly blinkingly come to your seconds later, you find that around you a rapid, tight tornado has formed as he is pulling you off of the platform backwards over the yawning chasm below his dais. The group of you are in midair, being drawn out into the sky, and darkness has fully fallen as Miyuki's eclipse locks into place. As you are being pulled over the edge in this like quick tornado that he has pulled out from his body, it's like no wider than his wingspan, but you guys are all that close to him, so you're sucked along with him. You can hear him laughing wildly with his beautiful, elaborate hat blown to pieces by Suto's bolt. He is laughing and his booming voice shouts out, "Such fun! Such fun! Oh, how I love it!" As the group of you are descending down into it, like imagine, you know those drone shots flying above like the fucking like Himalayas or something, and there's these like hundreds of feet deep chasms between mountains. It's like one of those things with great long spires of stone reaching up from it, and you are hundreds and hundreds of feet up. But all of you are now in midair, and Clouds Burn Bright, kind of from his position, kind of in front of you all in midair, is with the tornado kind of spanning out behind him like a jet stream, turns, flares his arms, and his glyphs turn into feathers, leaving his skin and like spanning along his arms as his feathered cloak. Follow-up actions. We're going to begin with Raylar, who is actually in the best position to take advantage of this. What would he like to do now in midair?
So, we're all just going, right? Like, am I...
The tornado actually is keeping you moving kind of in his direction. You're not plummeting yet.
Okay. Yet is a really, really important word.
A very important word, yes.
Can... I know this as like Aidan, but does Raylar notice that Miyuki looks like shit?
Honestly, he has base level sensory, base level spirit.
Yeah.
It's dark and he's dazed, so absolutely fucking not.
Okay. Can I tell? Would I be able to make like a reasonable estimation of like just based on how strong the whatever tornado is and how far I'm getting pulled of like when I might start falling?
It is not immediately clear, assuming Clouds Burn Bright keeps it up, which he might. You're probably not in danger of that for a little while.
Okay. I'm not sure yet.
Do you need a moment?
Yeah.
Suto. You are this airborne tornado pull. You are the furthest from Clouds Burn Bright, but not by a lot. You're like, if you were on the ground, you'd be like big lunging paces away. But you're in midair, being pulled like laterally in his jet stream. What do you want to do?
Gotcha. Because as a player, I think it would be sick with all of us in the air, right? We all combine, because Out of the Blue is low cooldown. We combine all of our Out of the Blue into like this twisting thing, all at the same time. There's no way for him to like communicate it.
What does he want to say? I mean, he knows you all have the same powers. Hey, remember what you did way back in Assembly?
Yo! Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go! Sorry. I feel so bad for my name in verse. Sorry, I got excited. Suto, he takes out his fist like towards pointing at Cloud CBB, but he's like referring to the other two. He's like, "Come on, guys, put it in there!" And then like as he does so, he is like starting to like manifest into lightning. And he's hoping that his voice was loud enough for the other two to kind of see like what he was getting at.
Now, there's one thing I can confidently say is that Suto's voice is loud enough.
Great. I feel bad for my neighbor.
Raylar, follow up.
If you don't feel bad for your neighbors, you're not playing Enclave, right?
I'm gonna grab his hand or fist or whatever, like wrist.
And Miyuki, though you are far enfeebled compared to the other two, what would you like to do?
There's enough space for you.
Does Suto want to actually say that?
Yes.
I can even see him saying it kind of quietly, too.
I want to grab my Hagoromo and then pull it out into a straight line and then use a very small thunder crack to cause it to crack like a whip.
Yep.
But this is a feint. I'm not going to strike him with it. I'm going to bring it around in a different direction, use it to cause the end to wrap around the other two fists, and then rapidly contract it to bring my hand into theirs.
And is any of you not activating out of the blue at this instance?
Miyuki's not beating the friend allegations after this.
The bolts form, and the group of you go rushing forward. None of you can see it, but Clouds Burn Bright is caught in the chest by it. And when you come to your senses, initially you have no idea where you are. It's as though you're in like a completely different place. There's steam around you, and the ground is stony. You're in the center of a small crater that has formed. And the temple you are in, none of you would even see that it is hundreds of feet up and away. You guys are at the base of a mighty waterfall of snowmelt coming off of one of these mountaintops and crashing down into one of the deep canyons between it. Clouds Burn Bright is embedded in the ground. And as the group of you are coming to your senses, first of all, Miyuki collapses. Second of all, Suto is like, his whole body is like heaving with effort. And he feels like he just sprinted a couple miles. And Raylar would feel somewhat the same. Miyuki, you are so exhausted that breathing, like I said, even though it has that circular nature to it, it is starting to feel forced and strained. You also are seeing lights winking in front of your eyes, and even as you collapse to the ground, you can see Clouds Burn Bright's own eyes burning into yours in your memory.
Do I have enough reflex, even though I'm exhausted, to see that she's about to collapse and would at least try to attempt to
It is a sign of how tired Suto is that he does not get there in time, but he could get there right after she hits the ground.
Cool.
Immediate
From
actions.
this point out, all I intend to do is speak. So hopefully no more magic.
Is Suto going to help her to her feet or just kind of stay next to her?
Sorry. Yes. He helps her onto her feet, wrapping one arm around her.
Is Miyuki protesting this?
Insofar as she is able to.
Mm-hmm. Not very effective.
She would rather succeed or fail, in this case, stand or fall by her own merit.
Indeed. As Suto is helping Miyuki up, despite her rather
I'd like to say she waves him away, but I'm not sure if I've got the stamina for that.
You can try to wave him away. Is Suto going to acknowledge this?
No.
I had a feeling.
Team,
Yeah.
team comes first.
Just wanted to confirm. Raylar, actions from you.
CVV's in the floor.
Yeah, you guys have cratered him into the ground.
I'm gonna stand and I'm gonna take out his badge and I'm just gonna kind of toss it on top of him.
And as you toss, his hand jerks out of the imprint that it had made in the stone and catches the badge.
What the fuck?
I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
The electric thrill of unexpected battle. Can you feel that with but one world to conquer?
And though his eyes are closed, his face breaks into a wild monkey smile. And you hear his body kind of shuddering with laughter in the earth. It is so easy to forget how much fun it is. His eyes fly open, but they don't pierce any of you like you're accustomed to, and he starts to push himself out of the imprint of his body in the stone. I didn't even show you my bolts. I have such a collection. I didn't even show you my steed. He's been lonely. I didn't even show you my many servants, my acolytes. I didn't even show you my daughters. I didn't show you so much.
There's still time.
He looks down to the badge and he says, I felt like a child here, you know. Maybe you feel the same sometimes. He kind of tosses the badge in his finger. It's like flipping a coin. I will happily admit that it damages my pride greatly to not be the mightiest. For there to always be, what is the term? Larger fish, some nonsense like that. A larger hawk in the sky. I prefer that.
I don't have a ton of spirit, but I'd like to, if I can, let him feel my sincerity when I say, I know the feeling.
His eyes flick to you, and he says, Do you now, daughter of the night? I would not doubt it. His face falls slightly. He looks towards Suto and Raylar. And then points up to the temple that you guys were just blasted out of. He says, I do think I could benefit those folk greatly. Under my leadership, their lives could improve forever. Do you not feel that pull sometimes? That drive to
Always.
finish what you started, you know?
Of course I do. I always feel it when I look at my girls. But I'd like to think that I've done good. And they will be able to continue to do great things even when I'm not physically by their side. Because I was there once upon a time.
I walked away from a village. It's only sheriff. One day, I'm not going to be there. Whether it was because I joined the Enclave or time won. Eventually, someone's going to have to take that place.
Daughters, villages, things of this nature. It's so easy for them to feel small, and yet not insignificant. And then he looks behind him, and he says, they deserve one last reminder, I think. And he pulls from his eyes his lightning bolts, which are shaped like beautiful clouds that you earlier saw swimming in his eyes like phantasmal shapes. And he begins one by one to pull them from his eyes and throw them up at the cliff face. And he pulls one after another. He has dozens of bolts stored in his eyes. And he burns into the surface of the cliff the symbol of Lokris, the eye radiating 6 spokes, as we showed earlier at the top. And as he does, you all feel your Enclave badges ping.
Do we see that the badge that he's holding also ping?
It does.
Let's fucking go!
Final actions.
Suto, he's
I'm gonna
exhausted.
Go back to the other two. I'm gonna go back to the other two and just kind of bear hug both of them.
Yeah! And like, I can imagine like Miyuki's in the middle, Suto's on
Like
one side,
smushed.
Raylar's on the other side.
Yeah.
Let's go! And then as he's doing
She
so,
can't leave.
He's looking over at let me use his actual name instead of his initial.
Yeah, clouds burn bright.
There we go. Clouds burn bright. And he holds out a fist towards him and says, "Welcome back to the Enclave."
And he marches over, takes your fist in a ball and socket, and pulls you into a tight embrace.
Ah!
He holds you up like a baby, like under your arms.
I'm like a 6'1" baby. This
Yeah,
is amazing.
indeed. And even though you're actually a little taller than him, and yet he can lift you pretty effortlessly.
I let myself be lifted.
He sets you down and gives you like one of these. You know what I mean? And,
like blinks up.
Yeah, exactly like that. And then he turns to Raylar and extends a hand to him like this, commandingly.
I'm gonna do the thing that Suto did earlier and walk up and turn that into a handshake.
And as you do so, he pulls you in and embraces you as well, before lifting your massive frame up into a baby pose. He sets you down and ruffles
My
your
legs
hair.
are just dangling.
Yep. Miyuki, actions from you, both while being jostled around in an unwelcome hug and after.
I think if he goes in to try to hug me and pick me up as well, I will say I will suffer no such indignities.
He doesn't even try. Instead, he looks at you, and his eyes pierce yours in a way that only happened before when you were face to face with him from out of the blue. And he says, "Ooh, the snow's caress upon my brow cools it in a way that the sun shall never do." And nods gently in her direction. And as he touches his badge, he says, "Be
I have
safe."
found much beauty in the snow. So too in your techniques. Nurture your fellow agents, as you have done me.
And as he is vanishing, his body partway materialized, his face breaks into one of his gentle smiles. As he says, "I always do. Take care of yourselves." And vanishes.
I always do. And vanish.
And on that note, we will end the mission.
Woo! Oh my god!
Well done, Thunder Squad. Well done.
Oh my god, we did it!
I was so worried we were not gonna be a match.
Neither was I,
Like-
but you know what? The power of friendship, we're basically best friends. I'm inviting you guys to my birthday party. Oh my gosh.
I think like part of the way through that mission, I was just kind of in a mindset of like, okay, nothing we're doing is really working here. We're probably gonna fail this mission, but let's at least make it interesting and try to get everybody surviving. But you know what? We clutched it.
Now, there's a couple things that did it, and just to give you a little bit of a look behind the curtain, there were quite a few ways to eventually solve this mission, but the way that you guys went about was one of the ones I had planned, which was land a good hit on him. That was one of the ways that I had planned.
That's very anime. Land one hit on me.
Yeah, a good one. Because you got a couple of them. But if you guys had taken a certain like interrogation route leading up to the actual fighting, which I anticipated being very short, you would have quickly learned that that was very much like a good motivator for him. He's like I said, he likes to nurture young agents and he loves to fight. And so I figured you could get to that. But all of you attacking him at once was my kind of vision for how this would have to happen if you wanted to land a hit on him, because he was just too powerful. Like, one of you, hopeless. I genuinely can't think of a way any one of you could have defeated him. Two of you, like you saw, could land a hit on him, but not, like, enough of one. I was really counting on you guys all doing something together. And it turns out that the fucking up the tornado triple out of the blue thing was freaking perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better one. But essentially, very essentially, Miyuki turning off the sun was enormous. He had functionally infinite essence otherwise. And you may notice his cooldowns were way lower than yours. And it's because he had his infinite sun bath. And so as soon as you turned off the sun, he stopped using abilities because they were on cooldown. So I wanted to play with the actual mechanics on your class, because I don't know if you ever thought in your mind, you're like, how the shit is Thunderclap off cooldown already? And that was the trick, is the sun. If you guys could get him out of the sun, you could have a much better chance at dealing with him.
Nice.
And like I said, he's not the kind to just like bring out the big guns immediately. He would want to build up to it. And so you'd get to see some of his like weaker stuff first. And if you guys fought him long enough, he'd start breaking out the bigger guns, and that would have been pretty spooky. And so I felt like it had to be fast. Like you had to finish it fast. But also talking with him was a good way of stalling and like buying time for storm brewings, which is what you ended up doing. Do you guys have questions about my calls, or about world building questions or plot questions or anything like that?
With I guess because like one of the things that kind of confused me was the duality of the eye symbol, right? So
Yeah.
the idea being when it's awake, it's about action, and so that kind of represents war, right?
Yep.
Was there an equivalent symbol for peace? Would it be
Yes.
if the eyes were closed or something?
Yes, there was. I thought that one of the other routes that you could have done to solve this mission was go into a more metaphysical route that kind of looked at the religion itself and how to commandeer it. I didn't think you would do that because the characters on the mission, but I thought maybe Miyuki might fuck around with it a little bit. I like designed the mission the best solution for you guys would be a big cool fight, because I wanted a big cool fight out of the triple Thunderbird mission. But I figured that maybe you could pull in some of the eye duality. I mostly had it there for background world building with the opportunity to be commandeered if you guys had like a great idea for it.
If I had reached the head,
a little bit of Robbie elementalism there.
Yes, you did. Pardon, what were you saying, Mies?
if I had reached like his head like intended, other than like, you know, going to like hit him hard, I wanted to like try to see what would happen if I like covered the eye on top of his forehead, so then essentially he would be blinded, quote unquote, but maybe that would have done nothing.
It's a cool idea and totally might have done something, is the best way I'll put it.
Fair.
Yeah, Lethal, what were you going to say then, Aidan?
Yeah, so there was I detected some Robbie elementalism there. For those of you who don't know, Robbie developed another game called Lifetime, wherein the magic system had this whole sort of philosophy of metaphysics associated with it, involving a system of not 4 elements, but 12. 2 of them being light and darkness, where darkness is the element of tranquility and light is the element of judgment.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to like detect my finger in a world building pie. Like I'm predictable. You're absolutely right. I steal from myself frequently, and this was no exception. Aidan, do you have a thing?
Everything's a remix, and recycling ideas helps you build missions on the spot. It's great.
Quite.
Originality is dead. Woo!
What were
For a
what were
second
the
there, I was
lanterns?
thinking, like, okay, can I convince him to come back by pulling in on, like, the nature and psychic element?
I don't think I'd probably go that far, but pardon me. Yeah, sorry, Aidan, what were you saying?
What exactly were the lanterns?
Okay, so I have like a kind of unhealthy amount of world building for the Disciples of Locris. They are one of the most recurring villains in the entire history of the game. Lethal, you have fought them no less than 5 times before. They were the ones who killed Arathor, among other things.
Oh, those bastards.
Yeah, and so I've done like an unhealthy amount of world building for these guys that I just have in my back pocket. And one of the things that I've established is one of their main ranged weapons are these lanterns. That are mostly that they can be to like harm or to like trap. And so because of that, these like hover platform guys were more like enforcers whose weapons were not to kill but to like neutralize because they're bodyguards, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to design a weapon that would make sense for a bodyguard that wouldn't like instigate you guys, and would be like an interesting threat to overcome. And there were 4 of them and 3 of you. So if you're all just like "Bleh," and went in guns blazing, you would have all just gotten like lantern fucked immediately.
Lantern fucked is what happens to Aisha's opponents.
Yeah, that's a focus word right there. Actually, don't put that in focus words.
You can't stop
do,
me.
do you guys have other questions about calls or plot elements?
I was gonna go into the focus words, but if you were gonna go into that later, then I was.
Oh yeah, I'll do it now. So first of all, birds of a thunder flock Togunder is the easiest focus word in the world. Like, as soon as I got that, I was like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do now. But Amen Break. You guys, it was both the setting because it was in the middle of his preaching, so to speak, and it helped me set the stage for what sort of enemies you might face and what sort of scene you might appear in the middle of. And Antichrist. This was another interesting one that helped me kind of figure out his role within it. Because, again, this was on the metaphysical side. I didn't know if you delve into. He actually, like I said, was not actually a chosen of the eye. He was tricking everyone. Yeah. And doing a great job of it. He's very charismatic and is very good at making people do what he wants. And so I had him as a commandeering trickster figure within the Locris faith. And that's how I came to the idea of, okay, my core mission idea was, it's got to be a Thunderbird usurping a religion, right? And I happen to have Locris as a religion I've worked with a lot, and Clouds Burn Bright is a character I have actually played before as an Enclave NPC, and he's super fun. So I was like, okay, easy.
I like him.
Yeah, how'd you like him? I really wanted to make his in your dynamics like the heart of the mission. So what did you guys think?
Okay, first of all, freaking sick. And there are so many times that both the character and me, the player, just wanted to just stop and go, that's so cool. Oh my god, I don't even want to do anything. But more importantly, I think it really starts to show, at least for me, what forms threats can really take, but also gives Suto something to aspire for of like what he can achieve.
Absolutely. Especially in Legacy, like obviously I'm changing power a lot in the way Enclave works now, but in Legacy, level 10 characters, that's like actually pretty representative. Like, Lethal can attest to that.
When you said 50 plus successful missions, I'm like, all right, he's at level 10.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't even use my bolts, I didn't use my daughters, I didn't use my acolytes, I didn't use my lonely steed. I'm like, yeah, that's a level 10.
I didn't use my accolades.
Yeah, I'm very glad you like him. He's super fun. If you can believe, the one other time I played him in Legacy, someone dueled him like another Enclave warrior in a actual fair.
That in a heartbeat.
Pardon?
I believe that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
He seems the dueling type.
He's a big dueling type, and he was trying to win that time. And so I got to break out all his weapons, which was super duper fun. Do you guys have any other questions about or thoughts about him, world building, etc. before we move on to other things?
I thought he was
his
really
relationship
funny.
to
I liked how
Miyuki
he.
was very interesting.
Oh, pardon, Aiden.
I said I thought he was really funny. I liked how he just said "ha" very,
Thanks.
not humorously. He just like kind of threw it out there.
I wanted him to feel like not entirely human and like kind of awkward. You know what I mean? Like awkward, charismatic is what I try to go for with him. Because he genuinely doesn't give a fuck. Like, yeah. Sorry, Lethal. What were you saying?
I think it's very interesting the way he kind of meshed together with Miyuki on the grounds that he had a harshness and a competence and a talent that Miyuki very much admired, but at the same time he had a fieriness with the sun theming and a joviality that kind of pushed her away just enough for her to not outright abandon the mission and side with him instead.
Indeed, yes. That's like precisely what I was going for. I really wanted Miyuki in particular to be like in an interesting, ambiguous space with him because I had a feeling they're kind of cut from a similar cloth. You know what I mean? They're both like not mortal.
Similar cloth, different dyes.
Quite, yes.
Flashing colors.
And their theming is so different. I just thought it could make for really cool interactions because I had a feeling that Raylar and Suto would actually genuinely enjoy him and like have a good time as much as they could. You know what I mean? I was pretty confident that would happen, and I wanted to make it so that Miyuki also had a fun foil to play off of within that. To briefly go over you guys. First of all, you did beautifully. I wanted the triple Thunderbird mission to be super dynamic and like fighty and fun, and you did not disappoint. To begin with Raylar, he did a lot on this mission, and you did a lot to develop him out from his starting point too. Because I know you kind of like blank slate your characters and just kind of like, this seems good as you play.
Yeah.
And I felt him growing a lot on this one, which is great. I think that some of your combat actions were freaking fantastic. High point being the sneaky like lightning bolts on the hammer thing. That was awesome. I didn't know where you were going with it till you did it. And then it was like, oh, fuck yeah, that was awesome. Second of all, great job going in like full force at the beginning to take up his attention. I don't know if it was obvious, but the longer you guys waited to act, the stronger he got. So good job. Just
I didn't notice that, but
you took the initiative. It was not something that was like super blatant, but it was like it was implied. You know what I mean? So great job taking the initiative. And also, for you and Meeks both, great teamwork. You guys synergized with each other particularly well and did a great job kind of trading places in combat and working with each other.
Aidan, put your hand up to the camera so we can do like a little high five. Like a little bit more. Yeah, like that.
Boom. So yeah, I thought that was fantastic, and especially because these two characters I had a feeling would like get along pretty well, and so seeing them like synergize and bro it up in the midst of combat was so fun.
It's my bro.
It was great. It makes me want to see that duo more, unsurprisingly. Speaking of which, Suto. First of all, I have called Suto in the past the heart of a team, and this is no exception. He has a groundedness to him, which is wonderful. And I loved the dynamic that so quickly formed between you and Clouds Burn Bright. I loved your scrappiness and how you're like, fuck, let's try this. And it just makes for very fun combat. That contrasts nicely to Raylar's too, because he's slightly more telegraphed and like focused. And then Suto would just like fly in there and see what happened. It was great. Your perk on Out of the Blue is sick. It's very cool. And I think you use it quite well. But also, solid move recovering Raylar's hammer. That's actually quite important to do. Because as you guys quickly learned, you ran out of cooldowns. And you got to use that, right? High point has got to be the combined lightning bolt at the end. You started going for it, and I was like, oh, I got to give you the insight because it's too perfect not to do. And then you deliver on it. Like, you delivered on it lovely. So, it was a perfect way to close out the mission, especially having just hit him with the eclipse. Let me put it this way: you know, parry this, you fucking casual. That's
Listen,
yeah, you
listen. If I couldn't get the nut shot, I had to get something, right?
Indeed. And the so the fight that you timed that to the eclipse happening with you guys in a vortex being drawn towards him. Oh, that was so cool. And also, smart on you for not using your bat for that move, because he branded his symbol in your bat, and your bat would have betrayed you.
Oh, wow.
So
Holy shit.
That would have been bad.
he was able to do it with the hammer because the hammer of Raylar was more familiar to him, but Suto's bat, it didn't get a chance to come up much. But he was like, "What the hell is that thing?" Like he'd never seen a thunder hammer like that before, so he had to like figure it out first, burn his brand, and then he could control it.
I'm gonna teach this old man how to play baseball. It's gonna be so good. But more importantly, like, do you have any more thoughts on Suto before I?
I'd say the one other thing, the literal only critique I have is you kind of forgot your Talaria. That's it.
Oh, is that what you were implying when you were saying, like, what would you do to try to, like,
Yeah.
like, because, like, I was, like, flying in there.
Talaria are great for catching yourself when you're falling. You can't do it, like, just effortlessly because it's about running speed, but something other Thunderbirds have done, even with a little bit of energy work, is pumping their feet in the air while they are falling. And it can give you like
never even thought of that.
a facsimile of it that you can energy work off of to catch yourself, or at least slow yourself.
Yeah, and if you pair it with Thunderclap, if you can find a way to do that, you might even be able to launch yourself.
Yeah, I've done that before, and I
Yeah.
did use Thunderclap in one instance to.
Yeah, the
break my fall.
Thunderclap.
I didn't know that you could do that with Talaria because I was only imagining it that all it can do is give you speed and verticality.
Oh yeah, that's why we bring in energy work. And so this is not an obvious thing. This is not like you're dummy. No, not even close. But it's a way that you can, if you find yourself in those situations in future, think about how you can energy work your Talaria to help catch yourself from a fall.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm still really new to energy work. I'm just getting like a hang of like what manifestation is. So
Wow,
like
really?
hopefully I'll have
'Cause
more.
You're quite good at it.
I feel like in this part,
Am
Robbie playing the character of Clouds Burn Bright was kind of like a showcase of what you could do with some clever energy work.
I was trying
That
to
is
give you
true.
guys some fun ideas, because the vacuum wave thunderclap is so freaking cool, and I've seen multiple players do it.
That is sick.
I highly recommend. That's why I loved when you brought in the manifestation of the heat cloud, which is another awesome moment from Suto, which was sick. So yeah, I'd say even though you're new to energy work and manifesting, your manifesting on this mission was quite good, and it's only up from here. Like nicely done.
Sounds good. What I was going for with Suto is that like I feel like Suto really shines as like a support character. So
Yeah.
even though he is very like go go go, let Raylar kind of take the first move and only really introduced himself when he was like there was trouble there. And really, I do not think Suto would have like fought him one-on-one if there was not Raylar there.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. Oh, I completely forgot. The small storm brewing for a bolt on him while you guys were going in for the attack was also awesome. Not only the lead-in, but people always forget that you can do small, tight, concentrated storm brewings.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to forget that. And you just timed it so perfectly. And also, it would make sense that you'd be able to get a full lightning bolt that fast because you have a freaking crazy powerful Thunderbird. And so it would make total sense that you could summon something like that up way faster and more easily than you could other. So just beautifully done with that. I loved that move as well. Do you have any final thoughts for yourself before I move on to Miyuki?
No, go ahead, Miyuki.
Sure. Yeah, so for those who are following along at home and haven't seen him do it before, Lethal is a wizard with manifestation. Like, he is one of the best manifestation players out there. And this mission was no exception. If you had told me coming in that I would say yes to letting you make an eclipse using storm brewing, I would have laughed. But
You started it. He was holding the sun in place.
indeed. But for him, I conceived of it as like a super, super high level perk that he invested a lot into. Whereas so obviously your poetry is lovely. Obviously your setup was masterful. Obviously the little manifestations you sprinkled in along the way were perfect. This is how so Meeks, since you're learning energy work, That's like way, way, way advanced energy work where you do like a bunch of little manifestations along the way to kind of help justify it and also bring in multiple elements of like new paired actions and also bring in character emotionality elements. You can do so much with it. Don't feel like you have to do that. Like, energy work can be very small, right?
Okay.
It just happens that Lethal has been doing it for an extremely long time. And brilliantly done. As per always, you do incredibly well at that, and this was no exception. I really enjoyed seeing a slightly different side to Miyuki. From the moment you described that little blush at the beginning, I was like, excellent, that's exactly what I was looking for. And we were able to kind of capitalize on that, both in terms of your energy work and character implications, as well as the actual pragmatics of how it ended up playing into your energy work and stuff. So I thought that was beautifully done. I thought your capturing and commandeering of the theming of the mission was beautifully done. You picked up kind of exactly the discomfort I was trying to put you in and worked with it. The recharging essence play was really interesting, but as you know from me, I never let you get away with something like that without a substantial sacrifice. So,
No, of course not.
of course not. It can't be that easy. And so I thought that was fantastic. And I thought that your moments of character acting that you were able to do, especially towards the end, were quite poignant and lovely. So yeah, it was a great contrast to the rest of the mission. She was kind of a parallel mission at first and then combined in at the end.
Yeah. I think that I set out to play a character who's very much in the Ice Queen trope.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I think I wanted to wait a little longer before displaying more emotionality for her. Because, when you do have her then get emotional and break the icy facade, that is used to highlight poignant moments.
Yeah.
Although, I'm not upset with breaking it in the way that I did on this mission.
I agree. I think it was very nicely done. And also, it paired so nicely with her kind of like composedly falling apart from all of the hyper-intensive energy work she was doing.
She does explicitly have a history of watching her opponents to steal their techniques.
Indeed.
And so it worked out great in this case because, not only is he more physically adept, he's also a member of the same class.
So this is completely coincidental, but this also makes your second recorded mission with Miyuki, the only two I've ever hosted for her, where you're fighting kind of Enclave agent with bird powers.
Yeah, weird,
which is
isn't it?
I'm sorry, I hate
yeah.
to repeat myself like that, but it just so happened and it's cool.
In your defense, both times I've given focus words that reference Enclave classes.
Yes, you do. So I don't feel too bad. I just feel a little sheepish,
Yeah.
Do you guys have any final thoughts? Let's go in reverse order. So Lethal, Meeks, and Aidan. About each other's characters now that you've interacted with them for the first time.
I think Suto was fun. I definitely wanted to see a sort of sliding into base kind of style out of the blue, and you did not disappoint. The baseball theme is fun, and I was not anticipating the baseball thunderbolts. That took me by surprise, and I love the idea. What was the other thing I wanted to say? No, I forget.
All good.
And as for Raylar, I'm sorry, but I didn't get a very solid read on him. He seems mysterious to me.
A little bit.
He does have the double reflex. I think he actually has the reflex trait too.
I think so.
Big guy
Remember,
hits hard.
There was a conflict going on in Miyuki's mind at some point. It's like, this warrior fights with a club, and yet is small, it's fashioned of wood, and they know the basics of stealth. This seems like a walking contradiction. Also, that ridiculous name. At one point, I think when he introduced himself to Clouds Burn Bright, I think I wanted to incorporate an eye roll into my storm brewing.
That's great. And Meeks, what are your thoughts, if you have any?
Before I give them, you said reverse order, so technically Aidan would be next.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, I was first.
Oh, pardon. Okay, yeah, Aidan, fire away.
You can go first. I don't mind.
No, let's commit to it. Aidan, go for it.
I I actually had a question.
Yeah.
Because it just like for the other two, what level is your guys' characters?
Level 3.
Level 1. Although she levels up from this mission, and I'll be taking 1+ in will and 1+ in reflex.
I wanted to play on the fact that when I level up Suto, I always add a plus to his Arcana, so he's up to 4 right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. I really liked seeing Miyuki show kind of like not sort of like a different side of Thunderbird than what like Raylar and Suto were doing.
Yeah.
Because Raylar and Suto were very like in the fight, smacking around, which is like the very like the basic idea of what the class is, but at the same time, Miyuki was like in the back creating some masterful plan that kind of was nuts.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really, really cool. And I liked Suto, someone put it in the chat. There was like a gif of the metal cooler movie when Goku and Vegeta are fighting like right next to each other, and I thought that was a really, really good analogy for how Suto and Raylar were fighting him.
Totally. I completely agree with your analysis of Miyuki showing a very different side of the Thunderbird, which is part of the reason I was so excited for this group. Like, if we had like Suto, Raylar, and then like Rado, like a third Thunderbird who is in their vein, it would have been cool. We would have had a great time, but I think it would have showcased the class slightly less. And Meeks, what are your thoughts?
I will echo Aidan's sentiments on Miyuki, because one of the things that attracted me to the Thunderbird class when I was flipping through the book was that even though it presents itself as a very combat-heavy class, it has that potential to be to have that utility. And I think whereas Suto and Raylar lean more towards the combat side, Miyuki was able to show that other side of Thunderbird, which again is why it's the best class. So,
when I built her, I did not mean her to shy away from combat in the slightest. I meant for her to be super combat heavy. And yet on this mission, I did a lot of kind of support style stuff.
But it was nonetheless like cool, and it was in character, which was great. And also, it was a great foil. It was a great foil to like how Suto and Raylar played. Mm-hmm. And really, the only thing that I have regrets of is that because we did split up towards the beginning, we didn't get a chance to really have much Suto Miyuki interaction. That's the one thing that I do feel like I missed out on, just trying to find out like what dynamic they can really have, other than like, you're loud and annoying, I don't like you, and I want to be your friend. So but with that said, like with Raylar was able to like immediately like connect with him, and I think that was also very assuring on his end, and definitely gives him that kind of confidence and reminds him why he loves teamwork. Absolutely.
Yeah. I will say, when you have I kind of conceive of characters as being open and closed. And when you have one open character on a mission with two or more very closed characters, the open characters often like, man, what do I do? But when you
powerless.
Yeah, when you have two open characters and one closed character, it's an awesome dynamic. And it very often works. Because like 3 open characters is like yay, fun. But like the closed like addition on top of that, I think really adds a lot of depth to the comp.
Heck yeah.
It allows for the power of friendship to be even more powerful.
Quite.
listen, I'm gonna find a way to make the power of friendship a perk. It's gonna happen. Oh yeah. I'll be like, yo, Clouds Burn Bright, look what I can do.
If anybody mentions power of friendship in the Enclave debriefing, Miyuki will say, that wasn't the power of friendship, that was the power of teamwork.
A team of friends!
Yeah.
I mean, like, realistically speaking, deep down, he knows that Miyuki does not see him as a friend, and that probably him and Raylar, while buddy, really only have, like, a co-working kind of relationship. But nonetheless, he does, like, really, for better or for worse, does really get attached to the people that he works with. So, For better or for worse.
Absolutely. And in that case, I think we are all set. Unless you guys
Wait,
have final
one more
thoughts.
thing.
Oh yeah, final
We have
thoughts.
to name the mission.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, like
oh.
thunder. What is it? Like your focus word, Lethal, was actually pretty darn good. Not gonna lie, but I mean, if we can do something better, I'm all ears.
Parry this, you fucking casual, would be a fun mission. Not totally fitting, but it's a contender.
It's a contender. It's quite funny at the very least.
We could just call it the power of friendship.
The power of friendship.
We could go with Typhoon Squadron.
Can we
could
play
go
on
with
maybe
Out
like?
of the Blue.
Do we want to play on maybe like clouds burn bright, but something brighter?
There's so many cool options off of this one. Something brighter is actually pretty good. I like that direction.
What about Clouds Join Hands?
You didn't join your hands. All you did was use your Hagamoro.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
She
But
pulled
then I
herself
used it to
in.
pull myself in and land
Yeah,
my
and
hand
then
on you
get the
guys.
hand on.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Never
Yeah.
mind then. You're good.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
that does feel like it actually
Clouds burn
summarizes.
bright. Friendship burns bright. The cheese.
I kind of like the clouds join hands because there was the parrying motif with his hands, and then
Yes.
at the very end too. You know, if you guys don't mind, I think
I like
that's
that.
probably it. I think
That's it.
I like
That's
that
it.
one too.
All
Yeah.
right.
Clouds join hands.
Out of the blue eclipse. I like that one too. Someone
I
said that in
would-
chat.
I was so hyped that I got to pull off Heat Always Rises, Night Always Falls.
Oh,
That
God.
was dude. Okay, Lethal
That was
as a
sick.
player, you pull off the sickest lines.
Yes, he really
Like-
does.
For real.
you.
Oh my gosh.
And I should note,
Oh,
by the way, for those learning the game, that luck pitch was ingenious. Miyuki's luck stat is what?
She has baseline luck.
Indeed.
No pluses.
And yet, the thing that made it so brilliant is it was so perfectly in line with what my character, like Cloudburn Bright, should say there, that there was no way I was ever not going to accept that despite baseline luck. And it set her up perfectly for that line, which actually assisted in the energy work. So just cannot recommend those sort of plays more. Amazing play. Lord, I could talk about this a lot more. But as a final note, I think this mission did a great job of showing off the Thunderbird, which was extremely fun. Something I've noticed about the Thunderbird is it's kind of like spicy food. People who don't like it almost never want to touch it, and people who do like it are like infatuated with it. Like, and then there's people who can take it or leave it, but like it tends to be a polarizer in some ways.
See, I'm wondering if there's a set of Thunderbird skins that you could do to like prepare spicy food for somebody who doesn't like spicy food, but in an unusual way where they actually end up liking it.
Yeah. Miyuki is an example of an unusual Thunderbird that could maybe be more
Unusually
palatable.
skinned, but I don't think a good way to make spicy food palatable for people who don't like spice.
Yes, maybe not. But and I'm so glad that we got a chance to showcase it like this. What a perfect instance. And thank you guys all so very much for playing. We'll do a brief set of outros, same one that we came in. So Meeks, Lethal, Aidan in that order. Give us your outros and we'll sign off.
Thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way through, definitely give me a DM and I'll like probably like draw you a little thing, because if you actually made it all the way through, congratulations to you. I also hope that this showcases that, you know, Enclave is really fun to get into, and you don't have to find players of the same level. You can be of mixed levels, and everyone will be able to contribute, and everyone will be able to feel that heroic, like everyone will be have their moments, and it's great. So yeah.
Very kind of you to say, Meeks. Thank you very much. And next.
I have been Lethal Butterfly playing Miyuki. Seriously, Enclave is a great game. This was an excellent showcase of one of its core classes, as well as with its magic mechanics, which allow for so much fun flexibility and allow you to do clever plays like you sometimes get in D&D, but not very often. It's like a massive expansion on the good idea mechanic from Torchbearer. Thank you for watching.
Marvelous. Thank you. And lastly.
All I have to say is join the Discord and start playing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Just get in here.
And thank you very much. As always, my name has been Robbie Howell. Huge thanks to my 3 fantastic players. You have made this evening a good one. And to all you who are watching, ciao for now.